evening, everybody. We're about to ready to get started, at least on our student recognition portion of our agenda. So if you could have a seat and we can get started. Really want to recognize some students who are a student who has been exceptional, as well as the administrator or adult that has supported them. Tonight, again, ladies and gentlemen, we want to get started on the student recognition portion of our program, and this is probably, arguably, the most important part of our program because we're recognizing students. That's why we're all here. First of all, I have to apologize. I have a bit of a cold. It is not the flu. I've been checked out by my doctor, so you don't have to worry about getting any germs from me. And then I got to tell you, as you all are getting to your seats, somebody looked at me downstairs and said, President White, are you going to tonight's meeting? I said, yeah. And they kind of looked at me kind of strange and looked around. And they said, well, and this is a good person. She said to me, well, I just was noticing how you were dressed, and I wondered, you know, where's the suit? And I said to her, well, you haven't been paying attention closely because around college time and FAFSA time, I put on the wardrobe for success, right? I wear, a couple of you may recall this over the years, I'll encourage people to wear ties that represent their colleges or their tech schools, and just so that folks get their thought process on college. So if anybody's watching, moms, dads, aunts and uncles, administrators, teachers, you all know this is the time that we should be focused on college. Now, I got to tell you, on a personal note, I try to wear college garb that relates to personal experiences I have had. Now, I did not go to FISC. I wish I had, but my wife did, and my wife is a FISCite. So I'm proudly wearing a jacket that I bought when we went to FISC one summer a couple months ago for a reunion. So to my colleagues and to administrators and folks in central office, if you plan on coming to the next school board meeting, feel free to not wear the tie, the dress, wear the college sweatshirt that you have or the college that your daughter went to. Lord knows I've paid enough for the different clothes for my kids, so I'm going to be wearing a couple of those over the next few months. So I would encourage you to do that. If you all are tied up in how we dress at these board meetings, you're not focused on the right thing. Let's just be honest. So there may be times where I might not be wearing the suit and the tie, and that's okay, because we're not here to show folks what kind of a wardrobe we have. So, having said that, we are here actually to recognize students. And for those of you who don't know this, a few years ago we started this award program, 2 awards programs. And you see some of the past awardees listed here. I Believe award is given every other month or so. And then the Yes We Can award. Now let me just explain what those awards are about. The I Believe award is about individuals who do well in school or make progress. They're not necessarily the 4.0 students. They might be, but they might not be. They might be the 2.0 student who went to a 3.0. But what's unique about the I Believe award is after the student is nominated for doing whatever he or she did, the student then nominates the person who believed in them. Check that out. So we recognize a student, and then the student gets to say who believed in them that allowed them to have some success. I should tell you, the other award that we give out is the Yes We Can award, and that recognizes whole schools for their accomplishments, their movements, progress. Doesn't mean they have to graduate 99% of their kids on time, but if they're making progress, the board wants to recognize progress because that's where the hope lies. That's the fuel for success, hope. So having said that, I want to talk a bit about, is it Naja Weaver? Ms. Weaver, I want to make sure I pronounce your first name correct. I know she's here. Where are you? Stand up. Where are you? Come on, stand up. Give her a round of applause. Come on up here because she could. Oh, y'all can do better than that. Come on now. Ms. Weaver, I want to make sure I pronounce your first name correctly. Najee, okay. Najee Weaver, for her hard work and diligence in improving her academic performance. She is very engaged in her school and is focused on her goals, planning to graduate in 3 years. Look at she's so shy. Ms. Weaver has become so involved in All City High, check this out, that she assists in interviewing prospective students coming into All City High to make sure that it makes sense for them. That's wonderful. Give her another round of applause. You know, Armando's going to talk a little bit about All City High, but this young lady throws all the stereotypes and the rumors that you have about All City out the window. She's productive, she's committed, she's engaged in her own education, and check this out, she says she's going to graduate in 3 years. Let's give her another round of applause. Ms. Weaver has acknowledged that she has not always had positive attitude towards school and credits her principal. This is the second part of the I Believe Award. She credits her principal, Armando Ramirez, for inspiring and encouraging her. She notes that Mr. Ramirez continually encourages her not to give up too easily and to be persistent in pursuing her goals. That's a wonderful thing. We all need people like that in our lives, people who will encourage us, even us board members now, not to give up and stay strong. So we really appreciate the principal for doing that for Ms. Weaver. In addition to her involvement at All City High, Ms. Weaver works 30 hours per week. You work more hours than I do. And somehow finds time to participate in running track. Join me in recognizing Ms. Weaver and her principal with the I Believe Award. Come on down, Armando. That's right. Standing ovation is in order. All right. Oh, look at Armando just soaking it in. He's taking his time, getting up here. That's right. Take your time, brother. That's right. Keep on standing. Keep on applauding. He's getting here. Ms. Weaver. And Armando. Weaver, you want to say something first?
Mr. Armando Ramirez had a very influential role in the advancement of my education. Being a student at All City I have changed my life. It has allowed me to be able to graduate on time and look forward at furthering my education at the college level. Mr. Ramirez had always motivated me to never give up and always do my best at everything.
I have a couple of more words to share. When I was invited to come to the board, I was a little nervous because the last time I was here 4 years ago, I was even going to bring my stick-figured face. So coming here is a little frightening. As everybody knows me already, I'm a little vocal and I'm an advocate for the students here in City School District. I'm very proud of what they do. When Najee says she wants to graduate on time, it's her time, not the state's time, not the district's time, but her time. She's ready. So she's going to do it in 3 years. I always encourage students to try to take the most that's free and stay the fourth year and develop. So graduating early is not always the best. I do want to thank the commissioners. They've all been very supportive. Commissioner Elliott, I want to thank you, as you've always walked along us and have been a good, strong voice, always encouraging me to not be silent and speak to the power. Adams, Commissioner Adams, who's moving on to another job, thank you for coming to All City and checking up on us. No man is successful unless he has many strong women behind him, and I'm thankful for my mom, who's had 2 strokes this year and is struggling, but I am All City. I am that student that struggled all my life. I am that welfare recipient, that 1 of 5 single parent in the projects in New York City, and my students know my story. They know that every problem for me is an opportunity. So when I faced my last problem, when I was asked to exit quietly, I fought a little bit. I fought a good fight. But I landed in a great place, and where there's problems and there's dark clouds, there's light and there's silver lining. I landed in a place where the educators were like me. I'm very proud of All City. And even this week, when we're going to graduate between 70 and 100 students, which will make it almost 1,300 in 5 years. We've done a great job with students that many people have surrendered and given up. I do want to recognize Najee because she does do a great job. She's my photographer. She's my critical friend. She's my word on the street. She tells me who's a good fit and not. She interviews a student like, what are you going to bring to our house? We've only had 3 suspensions in this year and less than 5 last year. We've only had 3 fights. Although many people look at it as a behavior problem, it's behavior that manifests through the challenges that our children experience in the community. We just know how to process that. I have a phenomenal staff that embrace students. We hug them harder. when they look to fight back. We just continue to embrace them. I'm very proud of my staff because I come to work and they allow me to do the critical work, to talk to our kids, to interview them, to find out what the obstacles are. It's not easy. We've buried a student almost every single year. I've been a principal and administrator. This year we lost a baby after 3 days. So we struggle with life challenges and poverty. But we recognize that at All City, that it is part of your journey. It's what's going to make you resilient and strong, and that's going to make the other challenges less stressful. I want to thank some of the important, I want to thank my son. He's here for the first time. But I've given up many days, many first bus rides, many school performances, and sacrificing to be a father figure for my students, as he knows he's a little more blessed than my other students, and they need more guidance. I want to thank my wife, who's been the brick and the shoulder I could cry on, and the kick in the pants I need when maybe I'm fighting the wrong fights. There are many people like that. I thank my chief, Ms. Toya Wilson, and my assistant principal, Susan Hart and Megan Brady. Like I said, there are many women that stand behind me. So this is not a award just for Armando Ramirez and Najee. It's for the students at All City that many people have given up and have lost faith in them, but we restored them. And 1,300 graduates in 5 years. I put my money up against many comprehensive high schools that have a bigger budget than I. Well, we have a bigger heart and bigger passion to make them. This gives us more. We don't need money. We need opportunity to take time with our kids. So thank you. While we're doing all this, we're also moving to a new campus. I welcome you to come now that people believe I'm in a safer building. We've been there. This is my 7th move, and I think in 5 or 7 years. This is the 3rd move in 3 years for All City. But I want to thank people like Joe Griffin, Matt Seeger, Tom Casa, Mike Schmidt, Roddy Johnson, John Goodwin. All these people for the last 3 weeks have been putting a building together to make sure that Monday, without skipping a beat, we're going to move from one address to another address and still have a home for our students. So I want to thank them. It's a whole district effort. I want to thank JAMA from Food Services. They're going to continue to feed our kids and make sure we don't skip a beat. This means a lot to me. It means more because it came from my administrative assistant, who we have to write up this week for keeping a secret from me and not sharing that. And I want to thank Ms. Wilson, who's been an advocate and a chief that really puts her money where her mouth is. And even though this is my 26th year in the district, there's so much more to learn in my last 3 years. I also wanted to thank my friends in law enforcement that make sure that my community is safe. A former retired Sergeant Vasquez from 2P is here to support me also. He's always been a good friend, but he's always been there when my kids have needed help. Even when they're driving dirty in the community, I got to get them out from a problem that they may be experiencing for getting caught. So thank you very much, Najee. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, central office. Thank you.
If not, that's okay. We all got cameras out here. Come on, board members, come on up right here. Mercedes has got it. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, come on. We're gonna take a picture. Come on, Melanie. Come on. It's never too early to take a picture, Melanie.
That's right.
Commissioner Ellis.
Yeah, family members, come on up. Absolutely. Friends.
I think she's working for me to get to my wife.
Oh, okay. All right. Come on, come on.
By my friend. All right. Now that you're not going to be over there on St. Paul Street, I can come.
1, 2, 3.
call this meeting to order, and we are going to begin, as we always do, with our Pledge of Allegiance. And what I'd like to be able to do, having called this meeting to order, is have Commissioner Adams' daughters do the Pledge of Allegiance, if that's okay.
It's up to them.
It's okay. Ladies, would you help us out and do the Pledge of Allegiance? Let's give them a round of applause. All right. Whenever you ladies are ready to begin, we'll follow your lead.
Turn to the flag.
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, ladies. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, I'm giving you fair warning, Commissioner Adams. You are going to be called on quite a bit today and probably embarrassed more than you would want to be. So I've warned you. Having given you that warning, I might as well start with the embarrassment, like, right away. No, I'm not going to do nothing to you. I'm going over here. First of all, I want to say to my colleagues and those folks who haven't been sworn in just yet, how that, and for everybody else, how that whole I Believe and Yes We Can award system works is that if All City High was your school, or if the school that made some improvement that was receiving the Yes We Can award is your school, you would be the person making the presentation. So we divvy up the work that way. So everybody gets a chance to recognize the schools that they're familiar with. But again, we got to move our attention to Mary Adams. We got to see if we can embarrass her just a little bit. Mary, the first thing I should do on behalf of the entire Board of Education is thank your family. This comes from the heart. Mary, like all board members, has made tremendous sacrifices. And I think, as Armando just pointed out, family members have to bear the brunt of that sacrifice quite often. It is often late dinners. It's often, missed weekends, events. And if there's a significant other there, it's the husband or the wife or the boyfriend or the girlfriend that has to bear the extra workload. And I got to tell you, we all have witnessed Ricardo and her two daughters make that sacrifice. And what's really unusual about them, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to go on a little bit because, one, I have got this Dayquil working in my head, but two, this is very personal for all of us. Two, we've seen, I'll speak to my family. My family is very engaged, but they have their own involvements and engagements. But Mary's family, on top of doing everything else for them in their home and in their own commitments, they've made a commitment to this district, her children and her husband. It's just a remarkable, don't take any offense, colleagues and friends, but it's just an unusual setup that they have totally, you heard the phrase, all in. The Adams family is all in. And we should just really thank them with a thunderous round of applause for all that they have done. Really just a remarkable family, absolutely remarkable. And so we thank you. Would you three stand up? Anybody who's family member, friend, stand up so that we can see you at least one more time. Go ahead, ladies, stand up, please.
President White, I just want to acknowledge how clean Ricardo is. Cleaner, as they say in my community, cleaner than a blessed nun. Cleaner than a board of health, cleaner than a blessed nun. So I just want to acknowledge that about
He's always sharp. And
yeah,
matter of fact,
man.
Commissioner Elliott has some stories about, what was his name when he was younger in high school?
No, I ain't telling you
you
in high school. What I did say, let me embarrass Commissioner Adams even further. I did say, and I don't think she liked it, but I think I had a crush on him when we were growing up. So that's what I said. I thought back, I said, yeah, I think I had a crush on him. growing up, so.
He is a,
So she ain't laughing, but that's all right. I don't care.
the whole family is really a remarkable family, and again, not to cast aspersions on my own family, but it really is a unique setup. They have really thrown themselves in as a family, and we're blessed, and I wanted to take the time to make sure that you three knew that, because we know what time you've lost with your loved one and the time that you've lost with your wife and your mother. And we appreciate you allowing her to be a part of our family. And I don't want you to miss that, because the awards will collect dust over the years, but I want you young ladies in particular to know that we really love and appreciate what your mom has done for us and for this entire community. All right? Let's give them a round of applause so they really know that. I've been told that this video that I prepared is not ready just yet. I'm giving the sign 3 more minutes. So I'm trying to kill time. So what I'd ask my colleagues to do is, and I hate to put you on the spot, but I'm sure you could muster a word or two about your friend and your colleague. Can we just begin with Commissioner Powell? Is that okay?
It's certainly okay. But having caught me on the spot, you're
Sorry.
only going to get the abbreviated list. I started writing the descriptions that come to mind when I think of Mary. And the list would be longer if I were at the other end of the dais. Tireless, capable, centered, honorable, integrity, determined, selfless, and justice-seeking. And I could keep going, but that's what I have.
So that was a great list. Mary, I've always respected your passion, your dedication, and we're just really going to miss your energy and your eye for detail and your ability to connect the dots and pick up the stuff that gets dropped in the cracks and bring it to all our attention, and just everything that Will has said, your integrity and your determination. I admire you greatly.
So I want to thank you for your significant leadership with the Code of Conduct and supporting students' social emotional needs and making certain that we are squarely focused on school climate and also on the integration of social emotional services, community schools, and engagement. Deeply appreciate the opportunity to have you put forward resolutions for the path forward and your support of the time it takes to do the engagement necessary to really understand that there are many voices and many visions in this community, and if we truly want to represent each community, we have to be prepared to listen deeply and to provide varied opportunities and supports and services for kids. So thank you so much for your leadership.
She's probably going to be glad that I don't say that I thought I liked Ricky when we were growing up. She won't have to hear that anymore, but much success to you in your endeavors.
Not to cry right now, but I do want to say thank you again. I am really going to miss you, even in the short amount of time that we were able to work together. I have had like Mary overload right now, and she can tell you that behind the scenes she has just been throwing so much stuff at me. But I truly, truly thank you for setting the example. I hope to carry on your legacy. And by legacy, I mean, I don't know how many of you know that our packets are like 5,000 pages, right? And so with Mary, she actually reads through everything, and you can check that she reads through everything, because if you try to come at her as if she doesn't know what she's talking about, she will tell you to turn to page 4,101, right? Like, she really reads it. And so I really hope to be able to carry on that legacy. You're very thorough in all that you do, and I thank you so much for your service.
If I can just add to that, and the thing about Mary is she does it consistently. Some of us do it, you know, every month or every other month, but Mary consistently asks those questions that takes a lot of energy, again, from her family, from her other community commitments, and it's just a real tremendous asset that the board has had over the last, is it 5 years, 6 years. I'd ask our colleagues to be, if they'd like to say something. Melanie, would you like to say something? Come on.
Don't look at me like that because you know what's coming. Mary, we've been friends a long time, and you are a true ride or die warrior. And when I think about the shoes that have to be filled, you know, you make me proud to be a city resident. You make me proud to be a parent in the district. And I just, don't look at me like that. I just want you to know that I will do my ultimate best to hold up the legacy that you have started in the way that you work, and you work for our kids, for our schools, for our family, and for our district. And I just want to say I thank you and I honor you, and I love you, girl.
So first, I brought gifts for Mary because, hold on one second. I know.
Sorry, my name is on that card too. Go ahead.
I know. Yeah, Natalie's name's in the card too. I was like, Natalie, sign this for me and you. So first and foremost, I also too want to thank Mary for her guidance, her friendship, her love, her passion for social justice that we share, and for sharing her daughter with me and her husband as well. They went through PLTI and CLTI. And her daughter volunteers every Monday with me in our children's leadership program. And I thank Mary for allowing that to happen too, and Mr. Adams. So for me, I feel like this journey is just about to start with the Adams family on a much deeper level beyond the school district, because there's work to do in the community, and I'm looking forward to working on that forefront with you. And so I too am very, very, very sad that I will not get to serve with Mary on the school board, but I know that I will get to work with you in these front lines and in these streets. And so I look forward to fighting social justice issues by your side. And I just have so much love for you and Sarah and Maya and Mr. Ricardo Adams. So, and thank you guys for also accepting my kids into your life too. So, Mary, I will see you soon. So thank you, guys.
Just sort of join us around any seats. The video thing is coming up. Thanks. Again, I don't think we can thank her family enough, but I'd ask them to stand one more time and to give them a round of applause. Now, you know, I've got a little tradition going here. I try, people know I'm into music. It's probably my association with DKX for a number of years, and probably because of my father. He was a real music kind of guy. And so when I think of things, I often think of them in the context of songs. And it was tough to come up with a song for Mary. And I thought, well, there are probably a few songs with the name Mary in them. So I thought, well, let me just sort of Google it and see what I come up with. And this is what I came up with. The Everly Brothers, y'all remember the Everly Brothers, right? They had a song called Take Message to Mary. I don't remember that song, but that was the Everly Brothers, very popular group. Harry Belafonte had a song called Mary, Mary. Wyclef Jean had a song called Something About Mary. Etta James had a song called, this was kind of close. I was intrigued when I heard this, Tough Mary. I said, oh, that could work, that might work. And then Neil Diamond who was just in the news the other day, had a song called Oh Mary, but that was not. Sarah McLachlan, but she had a song, it's called Mary. Janis Joplin, I was like, whoa, that might, well, you're right, Mary, I'll think of that. But the song was called Oh Sweet Mary. And I was like, Mary can be sweet, but she can be kind of tough too. Tupac Tupac had a song called Hail Mary. I was like, oh, but I listened to it, too much cussing in it, so I said, I can't play that for me. Slim Thug. I don't know Slim Thug, but he had a song called Miss Mary, and definitely you don't want your daughters to hear that. Mary J. Blige had a song called Mary Mary. Now, my mother's man, now this is gonna really date me. My mother loved this guy. Y'all remember him? Had his own daytime show. Tom Jones. Remember Tom Jones? It's not unusual. Pussycat, pussy. Y'all remember that song, right? Okay, now he had a song, and the cast from Glee had a similar song, and the song was called Proud Mary. But I listened to both those songs because I never heard Tom Jones sing that song, and I certainly never watched Glee. So I didn't know how their song, so I listened, but it just didn't do Mary or the true singer of Proud Mary, the song Proud Mary, justice. And you know who that is, right? Who is it?
I think it's Tina Turner.
Tina Turner. I ain't talking about Ike. Tina Turner, right? Tina Turner sung the song Proud Mary. Now, I got to tell you, as they cue up the video, I'm a lawyer and I'm paid to speak, but when it comes to Mary, it's difficult to put in words the loss that the board will experience by her leaving. I'm literally at a loss of words to describe it. And so, as is often the case for me, music, and thankfully because of the internet, I was able to find a whole bunch of images of Mary that show why the song Proud Mary is the right song for her. So without further ado, Proud Mary.
You know, every now and then, I think you might like to hear something from us. Nice and easy. There's just one thing. You see, we never, ever do nothing. Nice, easy. We always do it nice and rough. But we're going to take the beginning of this song and do it easy. But then we're going to do the finish rough. It's the way we do Proud Mary. And we're rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Listen to the story. Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day. And I never lost 1 minute of sleep. And I was worried about the way that things might have been. You know that big wheel keep on turning. Proud Mary keep on burning. And we're rolling, 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 yeah, rolling, rolling on the river. The river cleaned a lot of plates in Memphis. You know I pumped a lot of change down in New Orleans. But I never saw the good side of the city until I hitched a ride on the riverboat queen. Big wheel keep on turning. Proud Mary keep on burning. And we're rolling, 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 yeah, rolling, rolling on the river. Say we're rolling, 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 yeah, rolling, rolling on the river. The river.
Mary, we'd ask you to come up and say a few words, but before you do that, I want to tell you that, you know, I've talked lately a lot about heroes, but for a lot of reasons, You are the community hero. So come on up here and say a few words. Thanks.
Now, Van didn't tell you that my least favorite thing about this job is public speaking, right? I think everyone in this room may know that. So I did not prepare a speech, but I sincerely have so much gratitude for everyone from Natalie, from the newest colleague who's like already demonstrating critical thinking and really carrying it forward and making me feel so good to be represented. So now I'm going back to Arnett and School 10 and some other school soon next year where Sarah will be in 7th grade, knowing that I'm so well represented. And Natalie is already on the job officially, so she's voting and corresponding in official terms. But my other two colleagues, who clearly are my friends, are also coming on board and are going to represent in amazing ways. So you all are in for some excellent representation. My shoes are more than filled, and I really appreciate all the kind words, and I look forward to supporting, working together to carry this forward. Thank you all.
This is a plaque. It says here, Rochester Board of Education hereby recognizes Mary Adams for her leadership, stewardship, and valued contribution to the Rochester City School District for having served as board member for the years of January 2012 to January 2018. Let's give her another round of applause. All right, now we got a little work. It's hard to have a meeting after that kind of conversation, but we have work to do, and so we will do it. We'll begin with my receiving a motion to accept the minutes from December the 21st, January 2nd, and January the 9th.
So moved.
Been moved by Commissioner Elliott, seconded by Commissioner Hallmark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Then, of course, at these meetings, we invite people from the public to come in and speak about any agenda item on the agenda or an item that is not on the agenda. Traditionally, for those of you who don't know, we try to make sure that we arrange a speaker so that the young folks and their parents speak first. So the first person on the speakers list is Bryant Kitcher. And I apologize if I mispronounce the names, and you'll correct me when you take the mic. Is Mr. Kitcher? Thank you. I would remind folks out there that there's a 3-minute time limit. At the end of the 3 minutes, the clerk has this buzzer that's pretty obnoxious, and it will let you know that your time is up. I'll try to give you a second or two to finish up, but out of respect for others that are on the list, we'd ask that you really wrap up your comments in 3 minutes. Bryant, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
It's Kiker.
Kiker, I'm sorry. Mr. Kiker, go ahead.
All right. Thank you. I just wanted to really quickly bring to light the Transportation Department's policy that students that come from families that are split up and live in 2 separate homes, their policy is that they can't be bused to 2 different locations 2 days of the week, even if it's just in the afternoons or mornings. And I've spoken with several different people about this policy, and I think that that's unfair, and I think that it's more unfair that there's no exception to this rule for special ed kids. And I was told that this is logistically impossible, but I'm aware that many other larger school districts are able to pull it off, including New York City, which buses around 400,000 students a day. And I also found a decision from the state school board, number 14,456, that seems to support a father in requesting that his children were bused to a different location on the 2 days that he had custody of them during the school week. I guess that's really all I wanted to say. Just hoping you guys could possibly look into that and reconsider some of that policy. According to my research, it was something that was taken all the way to the state Supreme Court in Pennsylvania in 2015. So I really feel like I'm making a reasonable statement, and that there's other people that might agree with me in this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Peter Birkin. Peter Birkin.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Peter Birkin. I help bully-proof people so they can bring out their unique genius. I'm a former teacher for the Rochester City School District. I have identified 98 problems that I've seen throughout my career in Rochester of 21 years, but I see solutions for each problem. I believe when there is a problem, right around the corner is a solution to that problem. That's how I feel. I post this on Facebook. I've had a number of friends who've added to my bully-proof plan, and I posted this back. How about the bully-proof and everyone involved, including the bully? At this point, the school system blames things that are external. The list can go on and on of external. There needs to be a consequential system in place to deter the bully from being a bully. If the person doing the bullying cannot change the behavior, he or she is put into an alternative place. The administrator will assign the consequence based on the infraction committed and the frequency of the misbehavior. We need to restore order in the classrooms by removing the students who are not following the rules. The justice comes in the form of uninterrupted instruction to the students there to get an education. Some highlights: when I did home hospital, the temporary tutoring services in 1993, we had 90 staff of home hospital people. We had 4 students assigned to us per teacher. We went around all of Rochester knocking on doors to find our students. So that was 360 kids in service. Elementary kids were taught for 1 hour. Our secondary education, 7 through 12, were taught for 2 hours. Anybody that was not room for Clinton Avenue Learning Center was where I did my instructor position to start my school instructor career. And there we had 15 long-term suspended students per classroom. We had 10 classrooms. So we serviced 150 long-term suspended students that were there because they committed crimes of assaults or having weapons. If there was not room at Clinton Avenue or there was IEPs, they were put on home instruction where they got good valuable education on home instruction. The reason why I bring that up is schools right now, there's not enough instruction because of 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6, or many kids disrupting the room. So my idea would be to put together a consequential system that will address these issues so we can have more time on instruction. I know it can be done. It's based on respect. It's about listening to our students, our staff, our teachers, and administrators, and have a collegial conversation back and forth that there are solutions to many of these problems. Again, my name is Peter Birkin, and I bully-proof people, and I hope to be considered for helping the school district out in a different capacity other than teaching. Thank you, and have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Birkin. Alex White.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Alex White. I'm a city resident and a business owner in the city. I've had my business for 22 years, and like the district, many times I find money a little short. When I do, I look at what assets I have that I'm not using that could solve that problem. And for that reason, I want to talk a minute about Oasis. We always think of Oasis as adult education, but Oasis has a youth program school with 130 students, none of whom count on the state records. And as we know, the state provides money for students attending schools in the city of Rochester. These kids are aged 16 to 20, and getting these students back on some sort of record could provide the district with an additional $1.5 million. This youth program just 3 years ago had 400 students in it, but the funding has been cut in quarters since then. I would like to ask the district to please look into a way in which we can find a way to work with Oasis and work with the board there to get these students onto the school's records, get them back into programs that will allow them to matriculate in the school, and the district to get money from the state from that, so that we can not come to the district from Oasis every year asking for money, and instead help provide the district with the resources they need to help Oasis help these students who are 16 to 20 years old. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. White. John Boutte.
Good evening, Mary. I really want to thank you for all the help you've given us. We couldn't have done what we've done in the past year or two without you, and I look forward to working with the new board members, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of each other. I work with John Lang, who's on the 19th Ward Schools Committee, and also Mercedes, who's with the AQE Metro Justice Committee. And we try to make sure that we're all looking to help the schools develop their atmosphere, have teacher morale raised, have a good working situation in our schools, and not have the schools jerked around one way and the other by people who don't seem to have been in the loop all the way through. We work to get School 16 safeguarded, and it's being renovated right now and will reopen. Same thing is going to happen to School 10. And for the last several years, we've worked hard to try to make sure that School 44 would also survive in our neighborhood. And Ray knows that we were working on that when he came to the district. This morning, I was rather dismayed to hear that the School 44 was suddenly going to be closed because of the Path Forward thing, but the Path Forward hadn't been presented to the board yet, and we hadn't heard what the plans were, but the teachers got the message this morning that they were not going to be there after the 2019-2020 school year, I think it was. This, we've got to work to make our teachers, who are really precious to making sure that the kids get the right education, give them some stability and some respect. And this seemed like that was a misfire to go there this morning and do that, and I'm not sure what the story was. But I hope we'll be working together to make sure that schools like 44 are kept open, and that we've been pushing consistently since 2012, when 16 was closed on Post Avenue, for getting back to neighborhood schools with a community school environment to make sure that the kids get what they need. And we've been consistent. John and I worked with Liz on her task force for a whole year there, that we were meeting sometimes weekly, and it kind of was a rude awakening today to hear that suddenly School 16 was while School 44 was going to close without having the plans fully hashed out at the board and with the community. So I hope we'll be working closely together in the next few weeks to remedy the situation that's there now.
Thank you, Mr. Bate. Daniel Bentecourt.
Good evening, President White and distinguished board members and Madam Superintendent. My name is Dan Betancourt, and I'm the Supervisor of Safety and Security for the Rochester City School District. I've been employed by the district for the last 36 years. I was asked to speak about a new partnership between the Department of Safety and Security and OASIS. Since 1992, anyone working security in New York State is required to have a New York State security guard license. In order to maintain this license, New York State requires each security guard to take an 8-hour course annually and renew their license every 2 years. Previously, this had required all our safety officers to attend training with an outside vendor. They are dependent on the vendor's schedule. For example, this December, there weren't a few vendors offering the courses due to the holidays. Despite our efforts, we continually have officers go on unpaid leave due to failing to comply with these requirements. In order to avoid temporary loss of an employee and support our schools, we have collaborated with OASIS and created a Security Guard Academy. We are now able to provide a monthly 8-hour recertification class on Saturdays. In addition, we are excited to expand training, offering community access to the security jobs and training programs and assist employing qualified candidates into the security field. Thank you.
Thank you. We are next going to move to our superintendent reports. Dr. Nelms, we're going to begin with you. And let me communicate my apologies to you. Sometimes when the medicine is kicking in and when you're not sitting up here, I missed the opportunity to allow you to share words with Mary, as you are our superintendent and our colleague as well. So obviously, if you wanted to do that, I'd encourage you to do that now. But again, accept my apologies. I'm sorry about that.
Apology accepted.
All right, thanks.
All right, I'm going to be quick because I know we all want to hear about the Path Forward presentation. So I'm going to run through my slides and make sure I give as much time to Barb as possible.
Thank you.
We entered the new year with a renewed focus on our academics. This was the Regents Week, and we are looking at all the data, and I'm very happy to report that our students, particularly our students with disabilities, did exceptionally well in some of our exams, and I'm looking forward to sharing those at the end of the year once we get our June results as well. I want to thank Lorna Washington, who's in the audience. I recognize her every once in a while for her work with the focus on community engagement. We have a few events this month that I want to highlight. One is working with the connected communities and hiring parents within our Beechwood community and Emma communities to be parent ambassadors. They will work on communicating the 33 to East transition, as well as supporting our parents in the community with job readiness and making sure they have access to community resources. And so we hired parents within the community. I think we hired 3. We hired some to focus on recruitment, information sharing, and increased parent awareness and engagement. We also had a 9-week program in partnering with Ibero to support our Spanish-dominant fathers and getting them to parents and getting them to be more engaged in school and figuring out how we can engage them more deeply and purposefully. I'm excited on the 20th for U of R King for a day voluntary event. We have community action fair that will be held at our school. Our food pantry is taking off. We're partnering with some local churches in the U of R to fill that. And I'll tell you that when we started the pantry, I wasn't certain what the need would be. It's literally empty almost every 2 weeks. And it's kids coming down at the end of the school day, getting feminine products and hygiene and food. And so I thank those local community agencies and churches for adopting our food pantry and working with Food Link at our food pantry to provide support for our students. Also, on February 15th and 16th, we're going to have our play this year, Almost Maine, and we aggressively recruited students from Nepal and Somalia and Puerto Rico and some of our international students to be part of this performance. And so you'll see an eclectic group of individuals there. Finally, the state released our community schools grant, and I know folks like Michelle and others are working hard on that. And so we thank the district and the grants department and the New York State Education Department for finally releasing those funds. We are going to use our funds to do the following in expanding our community school model. We're going to have a dental suite with 3 dental chairs at East. And so we're going to have year-round support for our students with oral care. We did a study of our lower school students and found that over 40% of them had some type of severe dental issue. And so we're going to have a dental suite right on campus with the help with Eastman Institute of Oral Health. We also are working with Comet in the district. Aaron Groutman has been an incredible support here in trying to expand our optics program to include the Flom Eye Institute so we can coordinate efforts with all kids in the city. This is not just an East project. We prepared over 1,000 pair of glasses this year for all our CSD students. Now partnering with the U of R's Eye Institute, we hope to double that and support as many students as possible. We're working with the Greater Health Foundation around the social emotional supports and health. There's a report that I think I gave you in your board packet this month, or at least a link to an event that just happened around resiliency and trying to work with coordinating all the various health agencies so we can support our kids' social, emotional, and family needs. We also use the funding to expand our health and wellness. You will start to see advertisement in the spring for community wellness and health events. We increased the number of bikes, mountain bikes, and treadmills, and we're going to use the fields on our track to get more parents and kids from the community to come out and on Saturdays and Sundays and in the evenings to participate in yoga and all type of things. You'll see a lot of advertising for that this spring. And the list goes on. And also we're going to have a barber suite in our school as well, and trying to support students with haircuts, partnering with some local barbering schools to have them do their practical experiences there. We're working through all the legal ramifications of that, but we're hoping that kids will be healthy and they'll look good and they'll feel good and be prepared for school. We've also had an extensive amount of work. Lorna's leading all of this, so I really should have Lorna do this presentation, not me, is doing the partnership and recruitment piece. She has worked with a number of resources in the community, right in the community, as well as those in our school, to have a host of events for parents. We had really good turnout. The most recent event for students who are entering grades 6 or grade 7, and also grade 9. The School Choice Expo was incredible. Barb, whoever put that together on your team, did a phenomenal job. It was great to be there. I thought the layout was perfect, and we got a chance to engage a lot of different parents, and seeing the kids perform on that bottom floor was absolutely incredible. And we also are we expanded our 6th grade basketball team to include 5th graders, mostly from 33, but also from the community. So they have an opportunity to play ball at East and with other schools. Our philanthropy efforts continue. We found another generous donor to pay for our 8th grade trip this year, another one that will send all of our kids to 8th grade to Washington, D.C. But we're also expanding the number of junior chaperones. Those are our juniors and seniors in our Teacher Leader Institute, or TLI, courses. They have to research D.C., research the routes, and then they'll serve as chaperones with the adults in D.C. And so they get a chance to teach. They also get a chance to be involved in that experience before they leave high school. But as they enter college, they'll take on some responsibility of supporting younger kids. And then the last 2 things I want to mention are the Steps to College update. This is a partnership from a funder who was interested in tracking or supporting kids going from grade 8 to grade 9, taking about 30 kids and new 30 kids every year and tracking them for 4 years with the hopes that all 30 kids will be college ready and they will get full scholarships if possible. So you'll have a kid the 30 kids will take 4 years. They'll be on different campuses throughout Monroe County, and they're going to have some intense training. So when they enter college, they are familiar with the rigor, how to navigate campus life, how to advocate for oneself. And this year's session will be at the U of R's campus. but it will not always be at U of R. It's intended to hit all types of schools, both private and public, over their 4-year span, so they have an idea of what those choices are. And last but not least, I want to thank a host of partners. They're all on this list, including Ruth Turner, who represented the Rochester City School District, and the initial implementation task force Raising Resilience Conference. It was an incredible day. It was an incredible event. We got all of the major funders in the area alongside all the healthcare providers. And for 9 hours, we coordinated efforts around how to support students. So imagine a student who enters school who has been a victim of domestic violence, perhaps homeless, and has a learning disability. Today, it's really difficult to know how to service a kid like that with those multiple needs. This effort that we're taking on as a community, as Monroe County, is to start to coordinate that. So you would have this kid with those descriptors, and you would have a community initiative that would say this kid might best meet the services of these 3 organizations, and having a care provider support them and help them navigate through that system. It's something that we haven't done. We have a ton of resources in the community, but they're not aligned, and I'm really proud to co-chair that committee with Marty Lesnick from Blue Cross. And our efforts is to create some coherence between education and the medical community. And that's been a work that we've been established for about 2 years now. And so this is our first major event, and it was really well attended. It's actually sold out, so that was great. And last but certainly not least, I want to welcome our newest commissioners to the board. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of time to get to know one another further and to coordinate efforts. I'm very happy with the 3 people chosen. You see them in the community. I've seen them in the community for years and doing some incredible work. They definitely are hands-on type of leaders, and I think that's what we need. And each of you represent our community from within, from inside out. And I've seen each of you in many different settings. So thank you for taking on this enormous challenge of supporting all that we do here in our CSD. Mary, I got to tell you, Mary, I was thinking, what would I say if asked? And I thought of 2 words: accountability and autonomy. And I think those are things that the commissioners have provided us. Give us as much autonomy as we need to be creative in supporting our youth, but you hold us highly accountable, at least me, highly accountable for making sure that we deliver. And I have always appreciated your thoughtful questions, your very deep analysis. I think we all heard that many times. But I mean, it's not a criticism. You ask questions to get clarity, and there's a big difference there between criticism and asking for clarity. And so I always feel smarter when I'm seeking the answer to the questions that you ask, because it forces you to think about the system as a whole. So I'm going to miss that. I'm certain you're going to still be asking questions, and I'll keep providing answers. But I really do appreciate everything that you've done, and you've been a huge advocate for all kids, not just your own. And I look forward to many days at Clisha Street, watching you around there and all throughout the community. So thank you, Mary, for all your help and your hurt.
Dr. Nelms, are there any questions for Dr. Nelms? I just have one just for clarification. I told folks that I'm wearing my wife's Fisk shirt because it's college application time. FAFSA, is the deadline June of 2018 to be eligible for aid for 2018, 2019? Is that how it works?
I don't know exactly. I know FAFSA I know that financial aid was pushed back actually this year for parents. You could start to file in the fall. But I think, who else may have an answer to that? But
I just want, for those parents listening, I just want them to have information. It's not too late, because FAFSA is the form that you fill out to get federal aid or aid for your child to go to school.
how I remember for my own child is Valentine's Day. I always made it my goal to have it done by Valentine's Day.
Yeah. And then for those parents, and Barbara, you might answer this question as well. For those parents looking for financial aid outside the traditional system, like scholarships, any suggestions on where they could look? And if you don't have it, let us know and we can put it on the web.
That every counselors, I know that there's been expansive work with Ruth Turner, her team, to get counselors more involved in scholarship opportunities. A lot of the schools have college career centers. I know we do. We work with U of R on that. I think the answer is actually found within the schools, and that's work that our counselors are really working towards. I know that's happening across the district to be a little bit more inclusive of those opportunities. And I would start there, but Barry may have a different answer to that. Okay.
You know, because regularly what us parents hear or what people hear is there are a lot of these grants and scholarships that aren't applied for. Nobody applies for them, particularly in communities of color. So I would encourage, as Dr. Nelman suggested, to reaching out to your counselors. Sometimes, you know, let's just be honest, sometimes they wait for the student to come to them. We would encourage our counselors to go to the students. Even those students who you don't think might be interested in it, you'd be surprised. Many of our students are. And I just want to encourage that dialogue. This is the time to have that dialogue. Reach out to your students, whether that's your kid, your student in the classroom, because there are opportunities out there, and we pay people to help you find those opportunities. So thank you very much. All right, Barbara, you're up next.
Okay. I want to start by talking about the opportunity we had to welcome students from hurricane-affected areas and we needed to create additional bilingual programs in grades K through 12. The multilingual department was able to, in less than 2 months, design a program to serve approximately 100 students that came from Puerto Rico. This group of students is part of a larger group of over 500 newly arrived students currently served in our district. The expanded bilingual language and literacy academy, which is at the Hart Street campus, is providing a language sheltered environment as students develop their English proficiency. They're also providing new students and families with the acculturation support, the biliteracy services, and social emotional supports for both them and their families. I do want to take the opportunity to recognize and thank personally Sandy Jordan and Brenda Pacheco, as well as our teachers and other employees and parents and community members for all of the hard work that they did to bring this brand new program together in a very short period of time. We really did not want children sitting without appropriate education as quickly as possible, and it was truly a labor of love as everyone came together. I want to thank many community partners: Atlas Construction, Canandaigua National Bank, the Ibero-American Action League, Morgan Communities, Geico Insurance, Enterprise Car Rental, Comfort Inn and Suites, and Weather Automotive, because we needed to pull everyone together to serve students, their families, and also our newly arriving teachers. I know that our staff went and met people at the airport and bus station for the first time, took them and found them temporary living locations, and helped them to get resettled in Rochester. So I'm very, very proud of that kind of collaborative community effort. I also want to thank Board of Education President Van White and Commissioner Beatriz Lebron for participating in the New York State Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents Summit. The Tri-State Summit was at the RIT Conference Center last weekend. It was a wonderful gathering of Latino administrators from Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse, and I had the privilege of presenting an overview of our Path Forward work in Rochester, and Brenda Pacheco joined me in presenting on our recent recruitment efforts for our new teachers and employees, as well as our new program at Hart Street. We also heard a great presentation from Dr. David Mauricio from Buffalo City on their new education bargain and the great work that they are doing there. And Dr. Betty Rosa, Chancellor of our Board of Regents, presented a great and inspiring keynote address. And it's really a wonderful opportunity with our commissioners to be able to network across other large city school districts and to support the work of the Latino Administrators Association. Also on Saturday, as Dr. Nelms mentioned, there was a very successful school expo and registration fair, as well as using that for additional Path Forward input. We were able to get 700 people to come in and look at what all of the schools in Rochester offer children. There was also a 4-hour engagement event that gave us another opportunity to check thinking with community, parents, and students on the work that's being done. This year's event took place at the MCC downtown campus. We want to thank President Kress for sponsoring the event. And the new location was actually great for highlighting everything from robotics teams to the talent of our music programs and our bands. So we appreciated again the leadership of Anne Marie Lehner as students were demonstrating the use of digital tools. And I know that many of you did see downstairs one of our new classroom spaces where students are able to showcase their use of digital content and digital material, so we're very happy to have that. I also want to thank Marilyn Hale, Sylvia Cooksey, and the entire planning team. Again, many hands went into that, and by all reports, also want to thank the commissioners. I know a number of you had left other events over the weekend to get down there, and we do appreciate that support. Also, next, the success of our athletic programs and the endeavors were highlighted at the City Council this week. So our very own champion, Wilson Wildcats football team, was recognized by City Council President Loretta Scott, Mayor Lovely Warren, and the rest of our council. The mayor and President Scott proclaimed January 23rd as Wilson Wildcats Day in the city of Rochester, so it was a proud moment for all the kids and the families, as well as the mayor and Councilmember Jackie Ortiz and our new Councilmember Malik Evans, as they're all, as we hear again and again, proud Wilson Wildcats. So the event was actually just a great opportunity to see that kind of support and enthusiasm for our athletic program. I'm also pleased to report on the partnership with Causewave Community Partners as we hold our second Cold Can't Stop Us Winter Attendance Challenge, a district-wide effort, an all-time favorite. It's getting really to be a great opportunity to connect and reconnect on a regular basis with community volunteers and parents and staff from throughout the district who join that. And we want to know that the students who missed less than 2 days of school between our January 29th and April 20th campaign will be entered into drawings to win Walmart gift cards. And we also know that we will be having the challenge in the near future with additional opportunities for students to earn awards. And I want to thank in particular the ESL Charitable Foundation and the Strong National Museum of Play for their special continued support of our attendance improvements. Finally, tonight, we are going to ask at the end of this for the commissioners to go and take a seat so we can show a Path Forward video before the formal presentation. This is probably of most significance to me, and I want to offer a sincere thank you and a shout out to the entire Path Forward team and the dozens and dozens of employees and others, parents, residents, business owners that have really contributed significantly over the past 6 to 8 months as we've gone through a variety of engagement events to see if we couldn't uncover and discover all of the different good ideas that people have for creating a path forward. This is a significant 10-year educational and facilities plan, and we should remember that it does include more than one pathway. As with any plan, there are advantages and disadvantages to decisions that might be made, but we actually are not here making a single recommendation, but simply sharing a variety of pathways with our Board of Education. We will continue to create the digital tools and the demonstrations and data. These will be on our dashboards and available on our website. It's the first time that this district will have a 10-year clear guidance and information that will allow for annual goal setting and decision making. The purpose of the 10-year plan is to make sure that we can clearly be articulate about what it is we're doing right now to disrupt failure and to make things better for students, families, and our community, but that we also know what it is we seek to do next year so that we know that prior to the budget development. We wanted to make certain that we are able to correct for some of the difficulties in communication in the past so that when schools are moving in and out of swing space, or whether there's going to be opportunities to move into new space, that we're able to not only all know that collectively together and on an annual basis, but that we're able to look ahead and make predictions about what we need to do. So as many of you know, there will be opportunities both tonight to hear planning. We will be talking specifically about 2 of the resolutions. The 3rd resolution, which involves enrollment and assignment, will be discussed on Saturday. Upcoming finance and ESA meetings will provide an opportunity to dig deeper into the specific transportation, finance, and curriculum instruction program plans that have been outlined to ensure that we're able to look at the entire system as one coherent opportunity to plan the very best we can for our students and families. So again, I want to thank everyone. We're going to spend about 30 minutes hearing a presentation, and then we'll be able to have questions addressed tonight and also be able to respond to follow-up questions after that. So let's take a look at the video. If we could all just move forward, please.
Coming to this school really helped me out a lot. Like, it really put my mind in a different place.
That's how you know you have a repeating decimal.
They actually care, you know? They want to see you succeed. What's your name? David? Color has nothing to do with it. Everybody's the same in my eyes, but to other people, you know, racial bias still exists. All right, go ahead, read it to me. It's not about color, it's about the connection.
Quotient of energies with a non-zero divisor.
We have to find a way in the path forward to address that in a way that is non-threatening, to address that in a way that is going to result in better outcomes for our children and our families. The past is the way forward. And what we've learned from giants like Frederick Douglass is that that struggle for equality is a mighty struggle, but is an honorable struggle. How he and others were able to, despite significant pushback, develop this new path forward is instructive. It turns out that he was on the right side of history. We have to figure out as a district, how do we turn around our results? As many people know, painfully, the results coming out of our district are not acceptable. We have to engage and in some case build the relationship or rekindle a relationship, because we're on almost our 2nd generation of unacceptable results. We have to get together to figure out what our individual role is in trying to move the entire district, as opposed to, well, whose job is that?
Learning takes place outside of the classroom as well. And that's what's so exciting about the Path Forward, is that they're just not looking at staying within the parameters of a brick and mortar building. We're having more and more conversations about how do we bridge and those gaps? How do we look at diversity as our strength and actually build on the strengths that are there? Making sure that some barriers are taken down or that some opportunities are being created. If we were to reimagine schools, what would they look like? We have some kids who have some wonderful abilities, and what a shame that would be not to help them reach their full potential. Is that not the mission that we have here?
Our children deserve the best buildings. They deserve the most up-to-date technology. For me, our biggest challenge is our credibility with parents. We have to figure out a way to be believable again. I feel a sense of readiness to take on the challenge because, again, it's on us to change, because why waste this crisis? We have an opportunity to turn the district around. It's not going to happen that quickly. We have to turn the corner and we have to stop getting worse.
What do we do so this doesn't happen again? What do we need to do to change either the process, the procedures, the policies, so that we don't continue making the same mistake over and over again? I'm starting to see some real positive actions. I think that there has to be a sense of urgency, and there are some things that can happen, but we all have to be part of that solution.
So what can you divide into forward to get forward? I think that we're all on the right path on doing the right things. If it's negative, it would have made it positive. Success to me is just having that good feeling knowing I did something right or doing something good with my life. Instead of doing the negative things and focusing on negative, you just gotta lead the way. You gotta lead the way and do good things. I'm very proud to be graduating from Rochester City School District. I'm one of the ones that's making a difference.
Do whatever you like. If you want to stay there, you can stay there. If you want to go back.
I'm going to check them. Let me check them. If they're not, we can stay down there if you want.
Okay. How's everybody doing tonight? Yeah? While we have a minute, this mic always makes me uncomfortable at this podium. I just want to recognize Commissioner Adams and wish you well as you take this next step. And to all of you, I say good evening, commissioners and community members. Tonight we're going to be presenting our collective findings, recommendations, and announcements related to Path Forward. And before we get started, I just want to recognize all those people who gave support over the course of the past year. I'd like to recognize our superintendent for her vision and her constant support. I'd like to recognize our Board of Education commissioners for initiating the process and being patient with us as we felt our way through this complex process. I'd like to thank the many students and parents and community members, principals, teachers, staff members who were open and honest with us, and I'd like to thank you for your willingness to give us meaningful feedback and engage with us in a deep way. And then lastly, I'd just like to thank our team of ambassadors. There are too many individuals to mention, but there were so many folks that gave blood, sweat, and tears to all of this. In support of our kids and our community. You guys stepped up in a big way, and we wouldn't be here if it weren't for your hard work. So thank you so much for all that you have done. You know, you throw a stone into a pond and it creates a ripple, right? And that ripple eventually crosses the whole pond. And what I can tell you is that we cast our stone and we created a ripple. And I feel confident saying that our process, the Path Forward initiative, while imperfect,
we're better because we went through the process. And it is going to have an impact for our kids, and it is going to impact our outcomes positively, both now and in the years to come. So as the superintendent said, during the next 30 minutes, we're going to be presenting our collective findings, and we ask that you hold your questions and comments to the end in the interest of time, and we have blocked a half an hour so that we can have some Q&A and you can give us feedback. As I mentioned, this process was initiated by the Board of Education through 3 separate resolutions, which asked our team to very closely examine enrollment trends, feeder patterns, seat capacity, neighborhood schools, regional schools, and our own current student assignment policy. And this initiative has really evolved beyond an exercise in data analysis into what we believe is a path to district-wide school improvement. So the story of Path Forward is really centered around our district value of coherence, right? Whether we're talking about a demographic study or community engagement, school redesign, student assignment, communication, resource allocation, there's an interconnection between all these moving parts, all these different components. There has to be a certain synergy that exists. And so we started this process by carefully examining demographic data and looking at what it was telling us in terms of district need. When we carefully examined enrollment trends, we saw a couple different things. On one hand, generally speaking, historically, we've been losing kids. Our enrollment has been shrinking. However, this was a unique year in the sense that we took in a lot of students because of natural disasters. Students were coming to us from hurricane-affected areas. So when we look at the initial decline that took place over the summer and the early fall, and the kids that we've taken in as of late, our enrollment is somewhere around what we would describe as flat this year. However, what we're seeing in terms of trends speaks to the fact that with certain populations of students, with some of our most vulnerable learners, English language learners, special students with disabilities, we're seeing increases in those populations of students. So when you're looking through a facilities lens, when we're looking at building capacity and seat capacity, this has an impact, right? We have to make sure that our learning spaces can accommodate our student and program needs in the immediate, but also in the years to come. 2 other things that I think are worth noting in our analysis during this part of the process. You know, we've talked a lot about student assignment, and we're going to continue that conversation in the open work session this Saturday with Michael Ellis. But one of the things to note is this, that currently our zones don't necessarily match our seat capacity. And what that means in simple terms is that there are certain areas of the city where you have a high concentration of students, but seats are limited. And then other areas of the city where we have building capacity, but don't have many children living there. So regardless of which path the board decides on when it comes to student assignment, this is something that we have to talk about and we'll probably have to address as part of that conversation. The last thing that I think is important to bring up is this, and it's something that came up during public commentary. We are not making any recommendations to close school facilities as part of this process, and we haven't made any decision on 44 or any other school for that matter at this point in the process. So I just want to clearly state that. Tonight is really an overview, and we've been updating our website all week, and we've been uploading more detailed materials. So I encourage all of you to visit our website so that you can get a little bit more granular with some of the work that was done around Path Forward. Once we had a clearer understanding of what the data was telling us, we wanted to go out into our community and get feedback from students and parents, teachers, principals, staff members, community leaders, to find out what people were saying they wanted and needed out of the district. And when we had a bigger conversation around reimagining our classrooms and our schools, we wanted to hear what people had to say. There were consistent themes that we heard, whether you were talking to a 16-year-old at our school and student summit at SOTA, or whether you're talking to a 60-year-old in Emma Beechwood. This first bullet is something that we talked about a lot, but in terms of what people thought around neighborhood schools, that feedback was mixed. For example, in the 19th Ward, there was strong support for neighborhood schools. In Emma Beechwood, during the 3 engagements that we did in that neighborhood, we talked a lot about the relationship between 33 and East, and there was a concern that the district would continue to support and foster that relationship. Wanted to make sure that that was going to continue to happen. In other areas of the city, it was interesting. People felt strongly that it wasn't as much about having a school that was close to home, but just having a good school, and emphasized the importance of a parent's right to choose. And there were even more people that said, hey, we would like to see you support a model that supports some neighborhood schools, but then also fosters choice within that system. At every engagement, people clearly said that they wanted to see more hands-on learning for students and opportunities for career in tech. Edison was specifically mentioned at every single engagement we did about building on those programs and the opportunities that exist there for career and technical education. And there was a strong push at every single engagement, including the engagements that we did with students, to replicate our most highly selected models, specifically at School Without Walls, School of the Arts, and World of Inquiry. We had a lot of conversations centered around racial equity, and again, this was something that came out in every single engagement. The conversation around the district taking concrete steps to help our, to make sure that the diversity of our staff began to match the diversity that we see within our community, and to work collectively as a team to provide mandatory professional learning opportunities for anyone hired in the Rochester City School District, which center on cultural competence. And I'm pleased to say that this is an area where we've made some real strides through our racial equity advocacy and leadership team. We have actually started to operationalize strategies that are going to help us to recruit diverse candidates early on in the process. Kudos to Harry Kennedy and his team. They've formed a lot of relationships with local colleges and historically black colleges, and are really looking within our system at opportunities to develop a pipeline for people looking to go into the field of education. And we're having serious talks right now about how we can implement training programs and professional learning opportunities so that anyone that's employed by the Rochester City School District is going to get appropriate training, looking at it through that lens. There were, there's that strong sentiment that the community wants better schools for all. And, I want to reference a group that was at all of our quadrant engagements and had a strong presence at the Path Forward Convention in December. Great Schools for All. They expressed a serious interest in having the district pursue regional schools. And this is something that we're going to be talking about further when we get to the section of the presentation that's centered around school redesign. I again want to reinforce the point that we really tried to bring many voices to the table, and we did almost 50 engagements between September 29th and the Christmas break. The last thing that we heard was centered around communication. And, many people said, look, there are plenty of good things that happen in the district. And the district needs to do a better job of telling its own story about the good things that are happening with the kids that we serve. But on a very basic level, people said it's very difficult to navigate the bureaucracy and sometimes to get answers when you need answers. And so the district needs to do a better job of creating opportunities for two-way communication, both with staff and also with parents. So when we were able to get through all of the community engagements, we looked to see what are the things that we can implement right now. And these are just some of the things that have already happened as part of Path Forward that we've implemented based on the feedback that we received in community engagement. So working with the Office of Parent Engagement to relaunch Parent University, which is going to provide collaborative learning opportunities for teachers and families and community partners. We've had some conversation in this room about At Your Service, which is part of a more broad-based effort to improve customer service throughout the district. It's essentially an emergency hotline where if you're having an issue, you can call, you can get someone, they're going to get back to you within 24 hours and help you resolve the issue from start to finish. We're in the process of establishing an Office of Community Schools, hiring a community schools director and a team that's going to help to expand that initiative, because again, that's something that was talked about quite frequently in our engagements, and we think that there are opportunities to really help propel us forward through community schools, making our schools hubs and opening them and expanding hours before, after school, and providing summer opportunities. So we're looking to move that initiative forward as well. We talked about the bilingual academy that has been established to serve incoming students from Puerto Rico and other hurricane-impacted areas. We're very proud of the makerspace that has been set up downstairs, and we hope that you had an opportunity to be a part of that celebration tonight. But it's an opportunity to get kids into this building and to model 21st century learning, what we want to see in our classrooms and our schools. And then we're also, when it comes to registration, we're going to look at a different approach, going out into the community and looking for opportunities to set up pop-up centers out there. So at this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Dr. Guillory, who's going to talk a little bit about the educational planning piece and the school redesign.
Thank you, Deputy Wright. What's happening in 2018, Commissioners, I want to direct your attention to the trifold that you have, because that's what I'll be referencing, the materials that are included there. Our engagement teams heard the call to replicate our highly selected schools, such as School Without Walls, World of Inquiry, SODA, the Children's School, as well as continue to build and expand programs and opportunities that are culturally relevant and responsive, that provide wraparound social emotional supports, that let our students be actively engaged in the community with hands-on, minds-on learning, as well as increasing and expanding our career and technical education opportunities, entrepreneurship, service learning, and access to college and advanced placement courses. Our students stated that they deserve to engage in the community as a classroom by being able to learn and apply that learning in authentic community settings. To that end, we are pleased to announce that we have added the following community partners with internship opportunities for our students: Trillium Health at School Without Walls, Toshiba and Innovative Solutions at Edison, as well as a collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce and the Pointy System as a district-wide collaboration. Thank you and welcome aboard to our newest community partners. Our students stated very clearly that they must see themselves in the curricula materials. As a result, we are presently developing new elective courses for English 4 and will continue to refine our Pan-African and Latino study courses. We repeatedly heard from the students, "I have to see myself in what is being taught." We have expanded and will continue to expand CTE opportunities, ensuring each secondary school has CTE offerings or pathways. We remain committed to ensuring that our 8th graders have opportunities to accelerate by taking high school credit courses. As an example, we continue to see 8th graders taking the Algebra 1 course. Those students continue to demonstrate their mastery by passing the Regents exams associated with that course, as well as earning the credit. As a result of the students' interest in the arts, we will continue growing those opportunities for our students to demonstrate their learning through song, dance, paint, music, digital, and media arts. We have taken a bold step in offering culturally responsive curriculum materials to our elementary school students in partnership with the Rochester Teacher Center and Dr. Susan Goodwin. We have that curriculum materials in a number of our elementaries, and we have new elementaries coming on board saying that they want access to those materials as well. Next slide. As schools improve and are empowered to improve, back up one just for me, Amy, I think. As schools are improved and are empowered to improve, we are going to see others that engage in those practices and be replicated and expanded to other schools. What we learned from our experiences with School 41 is that we must have a system in place to rapidly replicate our school models that are yielding high results. We are pleased to announce RISE, and that's at the bottom of the slide, Rochester Innovation Schools Empowered. RISE is a support structure that will allow us to rapidly start up one of our highly desired models when needed. Kodak 41 is presently being redesigned and will open as our first RISE school in the fall of 2018 as a community school with a new learning and teaching focus. Design is presently underway with the school community through a series of community engagements. This model and pathway will allow us to expand and replicate schools over the next few years. We are looking to build strong schools in all of our zones, and the RISE system structure will allow us to do that as needed. We are excited to announce the following additions and expansions of classes, services, and continuums in our various zones. So this is our Northeast zone, and presently we have 6 receivership schools in this zone, which are indicated by the blue boxes, and the red boxes indicate our bilingual program options. In the Northeast zone, we are adding pre-K classes to our district schools. We've added a new pre-K agency program called Creative Kids Zone. We have newly renovated the Rochester Early Childhood Education Center that houses 5 pre-K 4 classes as well as 5 pre-K 3 classes. We've added bilingual seats and dual language programs, as well as expanded our Students with Disabilities services, seats, and continuums at several of the schools listed there. By adding a bilingual section of kindergarten at 33, we now have a 2-way dual language option for elementary in each of our zones. The Northwest zone. Our Northwest zone is represented. We have 2 receivership schools in this zone. 2 of our bilingual program options are noted there. In the Northwest, we again are adding pre-K 3 and 4 seats. We are adding bilingual dual language seats and programs. We're adding seats and continuum of services for our students with disabilities. For Edison, which resides in the Northwest zones, we are planning the Culinary Arts Center, which will be focused on students designing, packaging meals that will allow them to possibly expand that to a service that could be utilized district-wide. We'd like to make Edison an event planning hub. We recognize that not every child will go to college, and we are pleased to announce that Edison will be a state-of-the-art school that allows culinary arts and entrepreneurship to be at the helm. In addition, our students with disabilities are being provided opportunities for job-embedded skills, work-based learning that are necessary to become independent, productive members of society. Additionally, we've added a bilingual strand to Edison, so students will also be able to, in 4 years, earn a seal of biliteracy as well as their CTE diploma option as well. In the South Zone, we have 3 receivership schools in the South Zone, as well as you can see our bilingual language options that are there. We again have added pre-K seats. We've expanded bilingual options. We've added services for students with disabilities. But never before have we had a continuum of K-12 ending with a seal of biliteracy, as well as an IB diploma option for our students now, and we now have that as a result of the services that we've added in during this time. Coming soon, or coming in 2019, 2020, where the path is leading us, we have our newly renovated schools that will be returning home. We have School 10 and School 22 that will be returning back to their locations. School 22 is moving to the 6th school building that's being redesigned, and School 10 will be moving back to their location in 2019. And in 2020, School 2 will return home, as well as School 4 to brand new renovated facilities. The Path Forward also gives us the opportunity to look at some future concept schools. So again, based on feedback from our students, families, and community, we are proposing concept now. We are proposing 2 magnet or regional great schools for all concept schools. Our future concept school recommendations are to launch a P-TECH 2 focused on health and business career partnership. This concept school is being developed in partnership with MCC, Greece Central School District, M&T Bank, ESL Federal Credit Union, and Rochester Regional Health. As you all will recall, we applied for this particular grant but did not get it, so this is going to allow us the opportunity to go out and do some fundraising and those types of things to try to get this facility solidified. Another concept school is to house an elementary school downtown focused on music and arts. Again, another concept school with the idea of 50% of the families or parents that work in downtown will be able to bring their children and drop them off at their school, as well as students that live within the city will be able to attend that school as well. Again, concept schools. And we are certainly seeking partners to engage with us in those schools. Presently, our Commissioner of Education, as well as our Board of Regents, have launched training grant opportunities that will allow school district leaders to attend workshops on identifying the causes of segregation in schools and developing plans to reduce it. So that's a new opportunity that's out there that was just released by the Board of Regents, and we do plan to seek those funds. Our replication models, our redesign models, are again, the idea would be to expand the School Without Walls lower school for grades 7 and 8, which could serve as a feeder pattern to School Without Walls. Again, we recognize that we have to look at New York State law, get some support there in making that happen. The same idea with the concept schools. We're also looking at the idea of a School of the Arts 2 that's focused on digital, media arts, music, animation, and film, as well as more. And again, the idea of replicating our highly selected schools, the Children's School of Rochester, School Without Walls, World of Inquiry, and other highly selected schools in our system is what we would like to be able to replicate as the times present themselves. Across our district, we must continue to build upon and expand our partnerships with the entire community to ensure our students achieve. Graduation is our goal, and producing educated students with 21st century skills is our destination. I think Mayor Warren stated it best when she said, "It is our obligation to set the stage so that one day the opportunities that we all hold near and dear to our hearts can be realized by every citizen, no matter their zip code." That concludes my portion of the presentation.
So, as we said earlier, we're going to continue the conversation this weekend as we do an open work session to really focus on the student assignment portion of this initiative. And at this point, we open it up for questions and comments by the Board of Education.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Being mindful that we'll have, I think, 4 hours this weekend to have some follow-up questions, but tonight might be the appropriate time. I'd ask my colleagues to keep their questions, make sure they're questions and not comments if you can avoid it. So go ahead, the floor is open. Anybody? Commissioner Adams?
This is awkward. I'm going to use the report period to ask for personal privilege to express sincere appreciation for various committees and so forth, but at this point, I'm really upset. And, you know, I held it together with the emotional, the really appreciated positive things. I, held it together. I might cry right now, though, because this is the text I got this morning. So Shirley Green told the staff there will be no kindergarten next year and the school will close after the 18-19 school year, and she doesn't know what the building will be used for. I got that text regarding School 44 this morning. So if there's anything that could be more diametrically opposed to what we were promised with regard to how the Path Forward would operate and the spirit of it and the fact that we were supposed to be given multiple clear options as recommendations. The idea was that we would get 3 global sets of recommendations from which the board could analyze and choose. And to have on the very day that the board was offered a preview at 5:30 today of the Path Forward and that we had this presentation tonight and that on Saturday we have an in-depth presentation to the board, to have that very day to have a chief go to a school and tell the staff that the school is closing when this was actually the impetus for the Path Forward. If you recall, when you were new superintendent, you held a community meeting at School 44, and I attended as a neighbor and as a board member and as an interested person. And I recommended, I thought very nicely, and just helping you get up to speed with the district, that it might be worth reassessing the FMP Phase 2 plan because there were significant changes in the community, in the school district, in the elimination of the demolition of School 15, for example, the decision to demolish all portables in one fell swoop, the addition of pre-K for 3-year-olds, and, as was discussed in this presentation, the need for extra space to meet all the different needs of our students. I kindly recommended that you take a look at that as a managerial function, and you asked that I get board, that I not recommend that as an individual, but that I get board support for that. So the next week I got a unanimous resolution passed, which is what this is responsive to. And to have this very day, I'm sorry, Ricardo, my husband told me to let it go and pass the baton. But I just feel like nothing has changed in my 6 years in how this district operates with respect to parents and the lack of respect for teachers, school communities, my neighbors, people who put in endless blood, sweat, and tears for no pay. Nothing has changed in my 6 years with respect to that, and that is the biggest value that I had hoped to bring to this board, was to have community voice, to have parents. This is our district. I talk about abstractions like community control of schools, and I talk about the history of what happened in New York City in the 60s with relation to the white teachers union and the communities in Bronx and other places, and how that history played out, and we've never had real community control in urban districts. That's an abstraction. Today, what happened at School 44 is my reality, and I made no difference.
So, Commissioner Adams, I appreciate the fact that you did raise it tonight, because I think you probably could see from my face when the comment was made that I was equally as dismayed. I have learned in this city and in this school district that communication is complex and challenging, and frequently what is communicated from one person to the next is not entirely the intent. I'm going to ask Bo to speak, because indeed we were well aware that and all of us, that the 19th Ward wanted to keep both of the schools open. And we also know that there was a resolution to act on one of those schools by this Board of Education. To ensure that we were able to provide the board with multiple pathways, I believe the intent was to ensure that the staff knew that the school was going to be discussed. There was indeed, I believe, some prior action taken by the board, and I believe that the results of this process is to bring the board additional options for that particular school. Am I correct with that, Bo?
Yes.
So we do apologize that there appears to be the intent was just to let people know that the school was going to be discussed, so there wouldn't be a concern with three options. One is to maintain the status quo, which is the current resolution, which I believe there was some dissatisfaction with. The second was to be able to house those children in another school in the 19th Ward where they would all fit, which would allow that school to remain open as another type of school. Or three, to regrow that school back out after the board makes a decision about zone and neighborhood placement. So this is very much a dialogue and a process, not recommendations, and certainly not decisions. Is that accurate as well? So I do appreciate it, because this is the complexity. So I want you to know personally, and I will say this personally, that I deeply admire your desire to have the kinds of schools that are community-based, framed around an understanding of multiple voices, multiple visions, and where we can have honest and accurate information. But in doing so, we're going to need to be able to share multiple possibilities with people and then find a way to have a dialogue. So I just want to say that it is my hope that when we finish on Saturday that you will see that the spirit that you brought to the 19th Ward dialogues, I believe, has been captured accurately in the report.
I'm sorry,
And
but
I
that's
apologize.
BS. I'm sorry, it's BS. See, this is what you're going to learn, is that the people who are connected to people on the ground, like in the school buildings, whether it's John Boutte here tonight, or whether it's staff people who I've built, and I'm just using myself as an example in the text that I received this morning, what you're going to find out is that that is going to multiply that process where board members are connected to people who cut through the spin. That is ludicrous. They were told that the school is closing. They were not, and if anything, why in the world would that have been today rather than part of the path? I really don't want to go back and forth. I really don't. I'm sorry. This is terrible.
I don't want to go back and forth.
Terrible. I did not want
Shirley,
tonight to
are you
be like
comfortable?
this.
I just want to talk to the person I have not, I just want to hear from the person who had the conversation, because Mary, the information you're getting is different from me, and there is no spin intended here. So I would like to hear what the conversation was.
So Mary, Commissioner Adams, yes, I did go to School 44 today, and it was to share with the staff that part of Path Forward, there was a discussion around School 44. I made it very clear to the staff that it was a recommendation as one of the options, that the board would have the final decision. We talked about various components, which includes kindergarten, and they wanted to know, does the preschoolers automatically roll? And we talked about, we will have that conversation. I assured the staff that I would be back to their school next week once this had been shared. The reason I selected to go, as when we were talking about it, we did not want the staff to hear anything without knowing.
That should have been part of the Path Forward process, just like my school had a dialogue, and you conducted it, you facilitated it. I'm sorry, I'm not going to interrupt again. That was very rude of me, but I just can't take it. It's just not what happened today.
And so they said to me, this was supposed to be part of Path Forward in December. And I said, you're right, it was supposed to be in December, but it is not. It did not happen in December, and it is happening today. And I assured them that I would be back next week. Mr. Boutte was in the room with us, and him and I talked even after that to make sure he was clear as to what I had said.
Can I just ask, since we're on this conversation about what happened, and I think Commissioner Adams is correct, while we regret losing her, I think the voices and the ears out in the community are only amplified by the newest and the older members of the board. So we frequently get texts, literally when we're up here, before we get here, and sometimes it can be miscommunication. But I guess I'm curious, Dr. Green, did you just tell them that, and this is a question, did you just tell them that the school could possibly close, or did you tell them, yes, it might possibly close, but it could be option B, option C? Did you explore the other options with them? Maybe if you didn't, maybe they thought that that is the only option. Could that have happened?
So I talked about the data we gathered as part of Path Forward. I talked about demographics. I talked about the school accountability. I talked about the results of the performance of the school. And I said one of the recommendations, and it was not to close this year, it was to be in 18-19. And then we had a conversation about the kindergartners. And we had several dialogues about it. And I said, no decision has been made. I appreciate you sharing, and I will be back next week.
So Commissioner Adams, hold on. I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Green, but it seems like what might have happened is you really, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like you just articulated one of the options and didn't say there would be options B, C, maybe because you didn't know what they were going to be, but maybe they only heard the one option, and that's why Commissioner Adams got that text.
Yes.
Right? So, we all have to be very, very careful about what we say. And I think what Commissioner Adams is saying is the conversation all along has been, and to Barbara, to your credit, that you would bring the Board of Education 3 options. And Shirley, I personally, just speaking for me, I know you're a person of integrity. For me, that's not an issue. But I think what may have happened is that message that has come from Barbara, come from every member of the board, including Mary Adams, was not, we all make mistakes, was not accurately communicated, and that accounted for the information that Commissioner Adams received. Anybody watching now should know the Board of Education will receive 3 options, and the Board of Education will decide what the fate of those schools are. And I think that was made clear during the presentation, but it wasn't made clear. It sounds to me like it wasn't made clear at this meeting, and that's why I think Commissioner Adams got what I believe to be an accurate text message, right? So you guys will correct that and make sure that audience that was there that got information will get the correct information. And Commissioner Adams, did you want to add anything further to that?
No, just that I feel so bad for the School 44 community because this has been how it's been all along. It's like wrongs are done, the board corrects it. You know I beat my head against the wall endlessly to achieve the compromise resolution that we achieved a few years ago, and then even that was never implemented. People were, and again, we know people, like we are in the community, like we are the people, who are calling, like literally my blood relatives, my husband's blood relatives are the people calling. My person across the street is the person who's calling. They're not making this up. They have no motive to make up what happens to them. So repeatedly, after we had restored kindergarten, placement was telling them we're not placing kindergartners at School 44 because it's closing. And that was totally wrong, year after year. And even this year, it's been very clear that placement has under-enrolled School 44 relative to other schools. So there has been this train that is very evident that is in counter to what the board has directed, and it's just continuing to play out. And I mean, it's just not gonna, it's not gonna fly. I mean, I don't believe this version of events. I'm sorry, I believe you have integrity too. I don't know what is going on, why you would do that, but I know that today is the day that the Path Forward is being released. The time for discussing with staff and school communities was several weeks ago, up until several weeks ago. That was the framework for those facilitated discussions. Everyone knows that the board is considering the Path Forward this week, this weekend. There would be no need to go dialogue with teachers until after there is something to dialogue about based on assessment of data followed by board direction.
Any other comments? Yes. Commissioner Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple of things that, a couple of questions that I have about the Path Forward, and forgive me if all of a sudden these things come up, they sort of just pop up, but when we talk about 21st century schools, one thing that is included or should be included in that is multiple languages that our students can learn, Chinese and some of the other languages. And so I'm asking that that be a consideration, particularly if we're talking about a 21st century global educational environment. Multiple languages have to be included, not only Spanish, but other languages. And so I'm asking that the Path Forward consider these languages. The other piece, and I'm glad when Commissioner Funches comes on, who will lead our group around special education. The President and I actually toured Hope Hall, and they have a great program around special education. And so in some ways, while I know we want to infuse our special education students, immerse them within the general population, we may be able to learn something from the folks over at Hope Hall. So I'm going to ask the Commissioner-elect to consider some representation from Hope Hall. And then I'm glad to see, although I hope that cultural competence is the frame, because I don't care how great the education is, if it's not, and students have been saying this since I've been here, they want to see teachers and administrators that look like them. They want it in the curriculum. They want to know that the cell phone was created by a black man, right? So all of those things need to be, it needs to frame what we're doing. It doesn't need to be the last point on the things that we're looking at. It needs to be the first, because this is a predominantly people of color school district. And then I wanted to ask Deputy Superintendent Gilroy about this Great Schools for All. This happened to get voted on when I wasn't here, and so I'm not sure what Great Schools for All can do. And somewhere down the line, somebody can get me information on the experience, because I don't know if they have the experience to do this work, but that's a whole nother conversation. Tell me what they are doing with our students.
So there isn't, so the idea was presented certainly in the community forums, and so the idea here is for us to explore the idea of regional schools, or the idea of integrating our schools more around that. But
well, and I'll just put this out there. Those folks out there in the suburbs don't want our students, and so I'm hoping, because I don't think that black and brown students, because they're around white students, are going to perform, right? So I do hope that we will look at ensuring that we have quality programs within our school district, so that they don't have to be offended or rejected by people that don't want to be around them. All right, thank you.
And the idea again is for those to be our schools, so for folks to come to here and learn our curriculum materials.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Again, for those of you out there who are curious, how could we possibly ask all the questions or make comments regarding that exhaustive presentation? We're going to be meeting for 4 hours on Saturday, so there'll be lots of questions, and we have a ways to go, as has been indicated, to finalize any plan. So, but we will, Commissioner Adams, we will certainly make sure that the accurate information is communicated to those folks that were texting you and other folks that were present at that meeting. That leads us to board reports, but before we do that, I'd like to get to our student report because it's getting kind of late and I didn't know what her commitments are. I also wanted to let you know that our student rep did not have the chance to go through the packet, so I will not be asking for an advisory vote on the resolutions when we come to that portion of our agenda, and in fact, you may in fact have to leave early. So go ahead.
Okay. So before I start, I just want to thank Commissioner Adams for serving on the board. And I know I haven't known you for a while and haven't worked with you for a long time, but for the while that I have, you're really inspirational, and I think that we need more of that, and thank you. And I also would like to apologize for not being at the December Board of Education meeting, but I want to thank Daquan Hilton, a Leadership Academy for Young Men senior, for presenting my report on that day. So I will begin with the Rock to Change Student Race Summit, Churchville-Chili. Churchville-Chili will be hosting this event March 23rd. The Rochester City School District will be represented at that summit. The Race Summit is a wonderful way to bring people from different schools, districts, backgrounds, races, and cultures to educate and have productive discussions about race, classism, bias, and prejudice. Like I've said before, this is a very important topic in our country right now, and we are grateful to be given the opportunity to contribute to this discussion again. It was also important to hear the thoughts and opinions of suburban students. There's power in youth, and events like this are all about our voice. We're looking into any preparation needed from us to assist Churchville-Chili, and we are excited to be able to attend and speak at another Rock to Change Student Race Summit. A report will be given on the April 26th Board of Education meeting. Student Leadership Congress is looking into a close-up field trip to Washington, D.C. This field trip is a great opportunity for students because it provides effective hands-on experience that will educate and inspire us to participate in our government, strengthen our leadership in our community, and learn a more thorough understanding of American history and government. SLC is planning on utilizing this opportunity. We are currently checking our budget, deciding what date we will go, and looking into chaperones. SLC is thrilled to be able to go on a field trip like this where we can expand our learning experiences. Victorious Minds Academy Community Forum. On November 30th, the Victorious Minds Community Forum featuring Dr. Joy DeGrew was held at Wilson Foundation Academy. The standing room only event was attended by hundreds and included parents, teachers, and students. The focus of the night was the district's embrace of history and culture as an integral part of the learning experience. This is something that SLC strongly supports and definitely wants to see more of. The highlight of the night for students was our participation in a panel discussion with teachers and parents, yet another opportunity for us to share our thoughts on the education process and learn from others as well. During that same week, Dr. DeGrew visited Leadership Academy for what was a very engaging discussion with students, and we look forward to more opportunities like this for all schools. Speaking of Leadership Academy, we have some more good news to share. You may recall that during the SLC November report, we mentioned that the students there have not been feeling like their voices have been heard. We spoke about the absence of homecoming, pep rallies, and Spirit Week, and somebody listened. Spirit Week was the very week of the December Board of Education at Leadership Academy for Young Men. We want to say thank you for that to the principal, Wakili Moore, and anyone else who made that happen. This is another example of the power of student voice, and we want you guys to know that we are not done yet. There are some suspension issues at the school and other schools as well that need to be addressed. We would like to ask the district administrators to actively promote SLC in all high schools. Students from all schools have not been attending our meetings, and we know that there are good as well as challenging things happening at all of our schools. Our goal is to shed light on the good and bring about corrective action to the not so good. SLC meetings are listed on the district calendar. The schools have been primarily represented. The schools that have been primarily represented are Edison, Wilson, Leadership Academy, and School Without Walls. We are asking that administrators and school chiefs from the other schools please inform and encourage students to attend. We will also do our part as students in this growth process. The next SLC meeting is on January 31st at 3:30. We do not have an exact room where we can hold this meeting at this moment, but we are working on it, but it will be in this building. And lastly, we would like to welcome Mr. Jordan as our new SLC advisor. Yesterday, we had our first meeting with him, and we can see his enthusiasm to work with us. We are excited to see how this year will play out. As we welcome one leader, we part with another. SLC would like to congratulate Mr. Underwood, our former SLC advisor, on a wonderful promotion as CEO of Action for a Better Community. We are very sad that he will not be working so closely with us anymore, but we are extremely proud of him. A gentleman such as Mr. Underwood is very deserving of this position. He is a strong leader who devotes his work into educating and uplifting the community. And we pray that his passion will keep taking him higher and higher. And Mr. Underwood isn't here today, but he's celebrating with his family. But Mr. Underwood, we want to thank you for being a great influence and role model to us. Stay peaceful. Thank you.
Ms. Silva, not to suggest anything less than positive about your predecessors, but let me tell you something. You are really doing an exceptional job.
Awesome.
Just really good stuff. Well done. Very, very impressed. So thank you very much. And if you got to go home well, regents are over, exams are over, but if you got to go home, feel free to. But let's again give her a round of applause. She's done a great job. Really appreciate it. Next are our reports from our committees. Now, as you all know, if you attended our organizational meeting, we didn't establish committees that day on the first Tuesday after the new year. We met a couple times. What's that? Okay, yeah, no, I haven't forgotten about you. I haven't forgotten about you. All right, why don't you come on up? PAC is next. Thank you, Commissioner Elliott. Yep.
And the bilingual?
Yep, bilingual is next.
Oh, yeah. Are they even here? Hi. Thank you for letting me go so I can go home.
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
But I wanted to talk on, kind of touch on some of the things that were brought up tonight. Mary, you will be missed. Thank you for what you said, because some of the things I'm going to talk about has to do a lot with what you're saying about the parent voice and our involvement. But before I get to that, let's talk about the good news. The good news is the Christmas tree report, which I love to hear about and I love to talk about, is about the compliance of parent groups for school-based planning and parent groups. We are at 90%.
All right.
Okay, so, and that's both for the number of parents, 3 to 5 on school-based planning, and the number of schools that have an actual functioning parent.
Bless you.
That's awesome.
So I want to thank everyone who has been involved in those efforts to get the schools compliant, because we as PAC have very much championed for this over years. That we said we can't be involved if we're not at the table and we're not helping make decisions, and we found there was no tracking of it. So now we are tracking it. But it's January. This is probably the first time in all the years we've been tracking it that we've gotten to 90% in January, even though we start in October with the tracking. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been involved in making sure that we're at the table. Now, the point is that we have to stay there. So just because we report out and this month you're in compliance, you have to stay in compliance. But there are some schools, 5, 9, 35, 42 in Monroe, that don't have 3 to 5 parents on school base. 9, 16, 28, 42, and 44 do not have a functioning parent group. So
Could you repeat those schools?
9, 16, 28, and
42 and 44 don't have a parent group. And 5, 9, 35, 42, and Monroe do not have 3 to 5 parents on their school-based planning team. The other good news is, PAC, we did interviews for new people to join PAC, and we actually, on a day, the weather was bad, so only half the people showed up. But we did add new members to PAC, and we will continue adding new members. So we'll have 4 new members. That'll be at our meeting next month, and then we'll be doing more sessions and still recruiting and getting more parents to join PAC, because over the years we lost parents to them graduating or leaving the district and things like that. So I'm glad to say we have had new members join, or they'll be joining next month. The other thing I want to talk about, though, is that over the years, I've been through many superintendents, us on PAC, all of us, superintendents and people in the Office of Parent Engagement. We've been through some very dark times, but I would say this is the absolute worst year. I feel like we have taken 100 steps back as far as us being involved at the district level. We've been championing this, let's have parents involved at the school level, but at the district level, it's dead. And I have talked to the Office of Parent Engagement, and I've said over and over again, came up with ways of how we can stay in communication, because they're new, so I'm trying to tell them to no avail. We were not part of Path Forward, we were not part of that, but we had community members, but no parents, not from the board sanction group. I want to thank the board commissioner, Adams and White, because you guys invited us to the school climate committee, but there's a lot of things going on at the district level. PAC has no idea. And I said, I don't work here. You guys are here day to day. I don't know what I don't know. So if you don't tell me, I'm not gonna know. So I feel like, PAC, we've been shut out. And I wanted to bring that point. And I mean, I'm tired. I'm tired with a capital T. You open the door, I'm gonna kick it down, because I am tired of this. I mean, it's just like we keep saying over and over again, and then we get told the same lip service. And I'm just tired of it. Like, I really wanted to step away from all of this, because I have put in, my daughter graduated, my oldest. She'll be 19. I've been doing this for 14 years. At the school level I started, and now I've been at the district, what, 9, 10 years? It gets frustrating. I do all this for free. I volunteer. I got a full-time job. I got a mother. That's sick. I got a daughter and a daughter in college, and I do this for free for the love of my kids and the love of the district. But I feel like there's not a lot of respect on parents, not just us at the district level, but even at the school level. And we need to fix that, because y'all gonna lose a lot of good parents because you guys are not paying attention. And the other thing I want to talk about is something personal. And I brought this up with PAC, because we usually don't try to bring our personal situations to it, but I'm bringing it because I'm a parent. My daughter was suspended from school, from Wilson, my youngest daughter, on December 14th, or I believe 15th. And she got suspended. And what happened to my daughter, I called your at your service line. In the 24 to 48 hours that the district is counting, because I'm still waiting for a call back. I've had Christmas, New Year's, celebrating Martin Luther King birthday, and I'm still waiting for a call back. And all my being angry, because if you think I go hard for the kids, the rest of the 26,000 in the district, but the 2 that I actually birthed, I'm really gonna stand up for. And my daughter, I called at your service, left a message, and got no call. I said, wait a minute, what am I doing? Office of Parent Engagement, I work with them. I called Kenny personally, and Kenny helped me. I met with Wilson, principal, and the vice principal. But before that happened, the vice principal implied that my daughter deserved to be punched in the face. And I'm gonna tell you why I say that. Because I asked her, what would she do? She said, maybe your daughter shouldn't have threw the sandwich, because the girl threw a sandwich at my daughter. So I said, because if someone punched you in the face, what would you do? Your natural reaction is gonna jump back. She said, well, maybe she shouldn't have threw the sandwich. I said, so she deserved to be punched in the face. Now, I went and met with them. One of the things, one, I didn't get a call from at your service, and I'm still waiting. Number 2, I meet with the school, And then they tell me that my daughter, who I taught, you need to talk it out first. This is somebody she was friends with. So she went, they said my daughter started the fight because she went to talk to the girl and asked the girl, because they were friends. She's like, you know, we got problems? The girl said no. My daughter walked away. But they said, oh no, she started the fight. I said, so you guys, because that's starting the fight. And I said, wait a minute, I teach my daughter, you don't fight, you talk it through. It's somebody that was her friend. But the thing is, the way that they perceive our children. And I said, so you perceive everybody that try to talk something out as they're starting to fight. I've seen where they have taken kids that were IB kids, and they were not black kids, who were actually caught skipping, who lied on teachers and did not get suspended because they were afraid of the backlash from the white middle class parents. But what they will do to our children is inexcusable. You're going to suspend my kid because she's black, and I taught her to speak up and not use her hands, but she's going to defend herself. I've seen it, I know it. I've been in this district long enough. I know a lot of parents. I've seen that kind of stuff. But you will not suspend because you didn't want the backlash from the white middle class parents. But you don't have a problem suspending my little black girl. I am just tired of seeing it. I hear it. I get emails. I get text messages. I get inboxed all the time, phone calls about the same thing. And I'm not special. And it's happening to me too. And I'm tired. Y'all need to do something.
Thank you, Makita. I have, on a number of occasions publicly, thanked you for your commitment and your time. We know you have a family to raise, and it's frustrating to hear those kind of comments from any parent, but it's especially painful to hear from a parent that you would think would know how to navigate the system would respond. And, you know, we're talking about what we hear from people and what we believe from people. I believe you, Makita, and we're going to find out if it's happening to you, how many other people it's happening to. Because that line is supposed to be there to get to folks, so folks have a person to get to. And if you're not hearing from them, you're probably not the only person. So we're going to get at that, and we're going to provide you the support that you need, not only as a parent, but as a leader of PAC. So could we give her another round of applause? I know I've done this before. She doesn't ask for it, but she deserves it. She really does. Is a representative from the Bilingual Council here? I know there is a written report that's been prepared. Is someone from Bilingual Council here? I guess not. But there is a written report. I'd ask you all to take a moment to review that document. Now, on to committee reports. What I was saying earlier today, we did not appoint chairs for many of our committees. We had to sort of meet offline. We did. We have since appointed people to the committees, and we've appointed chairs. So I'm going to, rather than follow the traditional order, I'm just going to take my notes from the committees that I know were convened and did have conversations and ask those people to provide a very brief report. If I miss anybody at the end of my calling out names, or if you feel you have something to offer because now you know you are the chair, please just interject and offer up something. Let me first begin with our newest member, Natalie. Natalie is now the chair of ESA. We did have a meeting, but you weren't chair. But if you'd like to report on what happened at that meeting or anything else, feel free to do so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, President White. So real briefly, the whole meeting was surrounding some of the issues and areas of improvement for our special education department. There were a lot of questions that were raised, and we are hopefully going to have a follow-up meeting. I believe February 1st is when our next meeting is going to be. And I just wanted to say to the staff that I know with our path forward and with our areas of improvement in special education, that I want you to be encouraged. I know that it is very, very difficult when you have members on this body that, Mary, as Commissioner Adams said, that are connected to the community. So we are already coming in with a lot of the answers, and I just want you to be encouraged, because I know sometimes it seems like we're going back and forth and that everything is piling up on you, but I don't want you to see that as a negative thing. It is a great thing that our phones are ringing every single day from people in our community, because as Commissioner Adams said, even with her short 6 years of serving on the board, that she feels that nothing has changed, but we are still getting input from the people in our community. So what that means to me is that they still have not given up on the fight for our kids. And so I just want you to be encouraged that when you come to us, understand that we do have a basis of knowledge, right? That comes directly from the people that we are serving and we are here to protect. So I want you to see that as a good thing, that parents and community members are fired up, they are angry, they are passionate, because these are our kids and they are sitting in our seats today. So we can't continue to waste year after year after year when there are problems today that need to be solved. So I want the community to continue to be encouraged, knowing that you do have 3 new members on the board. Unfortunately, we are losing Commissioner Adams, but she will be in close proximity to us to continue to hold us to task, because we are not here for a paycheck. We are not here to just say that we are putting things in place that are not going to be implemented correctly. Please continue to reach out to us, and I want our staff to please be encouraged, just understanding that we are coming from a place where we are concerned, and we just want desperately for things to improve in the district. And we have been here year after year with minimal to no changes, and we are still keeping hope that we can get this thing done. So I am excited to be chairing the ESA committee. I'm looking forward to the work that we're going to do month after month, and just be encouraged to the staff and continue to be encouraged, community and parents. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Shepard. Let's see, next, Commissioner Vice President Powell, would you report on finance and policy? Now, I know you're no longer, starting tomorrow, you will no longer be chair of policy, but you were at the last policy meeting, and you have a number of updates that you can give us. And then, of course, you are going to be chair of finance. So if you could give us both those reports, that would be great.
Right. As you said, I chaired the December meeting, and we have not met in January, but there are still policies that need to be shepherded through our process that are in the pipeline, as it were. Tonight, on the docket for adoption is the Equity and Educational Excellence Policy. This is something the superintendent has been waiting for with bated breath, and we are at the stage where we're ready to vote on that tonight. So I'm not sure, I didn't take note of the resolution number, but we'll find it. Under new business, we should be discussing the 2 other items in the pipeline. One is the Education of Homeless Students Policy, and the second is a proposal to rescind our existing daycare policy. That comes at the end of the meeting, so I won't talk further about it, okay?
Okay.
That's policy. Finance Committee met on January 25th. I'm sorry, that's not right. We met on January 18th, and we discussed the 2018-19 budget calendar. We erroneously cast a vote to advance it to the full board for approval. And since that's the way the minutes read, I'm going to present that to you, but I'm going to recommend that it be voted down because it was a very rough draft. A lot of things have been changed in the proposal of dates since then. I did want you all to have the dates, but not to treat them as if they were cast in stone. So if let me move that the budget calendar for 2018-19 be rejected. Okay. That the budget calendar as circulated be rejected at this time.
It's been moved, and is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hallmark. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. We also have the budget priorities list. In this case, I think we handled it properly. I sought to make sure that the new board members would have input, so it was presented to the committee, but we agreed not to take action on it until next month's meeting. We have the East High EPO December financial report and the district's financial reports. I move that this body approve them at this time. A motion to approve the financial reports.
It's been moved and seconded by Commissioner Adams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Finally, you have a summary of the change order reports in your at the dais. It's the document dated January 16. The details that support that document are on board docs, but not the whole printed packet. At this time, I move that the board approve the quarterly change order report.
It's been moved and seconded by, I'm going to just try to get as many as I can from Commissioner Adams. Commissioner Adams is seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Finally, the committee considered two resolutions. They're in your packet, number 548 and 556. They were vetted by the committee and are being forwarded with our approval. That concludes the finance report. Our next meeting will be February 18th. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. That would leave audit, which has not met. Did you meet, Commissioner Adams?
We did not meet, but may I have a
Oh, absolutely.
brief
You can have all the privileges you want
so
today.
I know when you put me on the spot over there, I really appreciated and emphasized the confidence and enthusiasm I have for the incoming board members, but I also want to sincerely appreciate each one of you who are up here. It really has been quite I don't know, despite my, saying that I felt like on that matter that nothing had changed, I mean, it really has been a fulfilling, educational, enriching experience. I hope that I've been able to contribute collectively. None of us, obviously, it's, Board Member 101 that none of us acts as an individual. So the things that have been accomplished, both from board initiative as well as from administrative initiative and as a team, as a leadership team, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to contribute in the places that I did. I don't want to start recognizing the many, many people, throughout the institution, staff members and community people and other parents and so forth, because I would undoubtedly miss people. I do want to appreciate Shanae, our other board staff. I do want to especially appreciate Anissa Henry Wheeler, the Auditor General, who I've served all 6 years as chair of the audit committee and have come to profoundly respect and appreciate her knowledge, wisdom, professionalism, and ability, speaking of accountability and big picture, status checks on what are we doing here. It's really been really beneficial to develop a relationship with her. And I also want to acknowledge the members of the audit committee, since that was the committee I chaired. I appreciate their service. And Annie Seeley is our community expert, who many of you probably have never met, but she participates as a community expert in the audit committee, and I really appreciate her service over the years. And Beatrice, you will get to know Annie and appreciate her service as well. So also the wellness committee, Commissioner Campos asked me to take that on when it was a board function, and I did that for a year or so, and I really appreciate the people who were involved in that. I see Ray is here, Aaron, Audrey, Carlos, really contributed a lot in that realm as well. So I will leave it at that, and I'm enthusiastic about what's coming. I was very upset about that one issue, but in general, I hope to leave you all feeling positive and inspired, because I know we are going to do great things.
Commissioner Adams, if I could just add, I saw your husband, Ricardo, sitting there as he
The
has so
girls were
frequently.
asleep.
And well, let me, that was one of the observations I was going to make. They are really, real gladiators. Bless their hearts, they had fallen asleep. As I've seen them by you and Ricardo so many times, and I felt like Ricardo, surely he was standing behind you, sometimes beside you, but I felt like he should have had an opportunity to say goodbye and thank you, because he, again, I could probably get in trouble with my wife for saying this, and my wife is extremely supportive, but we got 2 for 1, really.
President White?
Yes.
Keep it moving. Thank you for the personal privilege. Don't get bogged down.
But I did always appreciate Ricardo's presence and your children's presence. I would go to meetings and they would both, I'm not gonna do that. Because this is just how I'm feeling, right? And because I think family is critical to this job. So I'm not just reflecting on your family, I'm reflecting on all the families, including those out here. You know, people talk about how people feel in response to what was said today, right? That honest, right? There's a family member sitting at home, right? And I'm gonna speak directly to the facts. And I told Shirley, I think she made a mistake. But you know what? Shirley was at a meeting, and her family members were missing her, right? Right? And Shirley's at a meeting, and I know where your heart is, but my point about family is they make tremendous sacrifices, right? So we can be here and take praise or criticism. And I think whenever we can, we need to hold that up. Because let me tell you, you two sitting in the front, you probably know it already, because I know you're aggressive community advocates anyways, but there are family members that are holding them up. That's my point about Ricardo. So this isn't just about Ricardo or your daughters, it's about the people that allow us to be here today and take the criticism, and they never get any of the praise. So let's hold them up when we can, because if it weren't for them, none of us would be here. To keep it real, none of us would be here. It's a blessing that we have them. All right, so let's see. We did audit. Commissioner Hallmark, you are Chair of Governance. Did you want to give us an update?
Yes, I had a few words to share. So as you've heard, governance has not met since the last business meeting, but the board as a whole has been working diligently to reassign liaisons and committee chairs. And I'm happy to say that these were finalized night before last. So all the schools across the district can look forward to being contacted by all the newly assigned liaisons. It's going to be quite a process, but I think there'll be lots of new energy. We've also been in the process of onboarding the new members, and I'm just so excited about the fresh energy and expertise that our new commissioners are going to bring to the board. So that's good. And point of personal privilege, on a more somber note, I'd like to take a moment to remember Lori Dewey, who died this month. She was a beloved drama teacher for 2 decades at SOTA, and she touched the lives of thousands and thousands of students through her teaching and through the productions that she led at the school. I have a especially tender spot in my heart for her because she inspired my son in theater and many of his friends to find joy and skills and avocation and friendships through theater. So we miss her and thank her for what she brought to our school. And I'd appreciate it if we could take a moment of silence. Thank you, Lori. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner Hallmark, for reminding us that we've lost someone in our family. All right, Commissioner Elliott, did you want to, you're still going to be chairing intergovernmental relations. Did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, and I also want to exercise a point of personal privilege. I have a few things I want to report to the board. One is that I visited Oasis, and I think they're doing a great job over there. I didn't realize that a lot of the printing work that is done in the district is done over at oasis, and there are people, there are students there, adults who are committed over there, and as people know, when we had to reduce the funding from over there, you know, at that point, under interim superintendent, give me a name. Simmons, yes. That it was difficult, but yet it is not our core service. And so one of the things that I understand from the principal is that he, or the director, that a lot of the funding now is grant funding. So I'm glad to see that they have received or have a lot of fund. In other words, that the majority of the funding is not city school district driven. Because we, from my perspective, and you know, if we had more money, we can do it. But you know, we have to make sure that we're educating, you know, pre-K through 12th grade. I also visited RIA, and I tell you, if we had more principals like Mary Diaz over there, if we had more of her throughout the Rochester City School District, you know, a principal and her staff that is driven to ensure that those students and families are mainstream into our community, are loved. That's the first thing that you experience from Mary Diaz, the love that she has for those students and for those families. She'll be the first to tell you it is difficult work. Those families come to our country, they come with trauma. You know, families have been murdered or killed, you know, through political fighting over there. And so they come with a lot of challenges. Really, in many instances, no different than what some of our families in the inner city are experiencing here in this country. And so we have those students and families who are international, but then we have the ones who are in this country who in many ways are experiencing the same kind of trauma. And so that's something that, and I tend to believe if we can love them, we don't even have to spend a lot of money. If we can show the love and the caring, that's going to help them to transition and help our families in this country to heal. And that's what I think that our school district can also help, is also to help our students to heal. I'm proud to say that I also attended the Student Expo, and Madam Superintendent, you got to give me part of the Deputy Superintendent of Administration's salary, because I helped him to do surveys, and it was a lot, Madam Superintendent, I helped him to do. So, but I was glad to be a part of that. I also will attend the Monroe County School Board Association's legislative breakfast on Saturday, and then afterwards come on over to the Path Forward meeting. And then just a couple of things before I close, Mr. President. I emailed my colleagues the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. And I've asked Chairman Shepherd if she would consider having this as an agenda item. As we look, this is a 10-year survey. We have it broken down from 2007, 2009, 11, 15, and 17. But if you notice this, in terms of the questions around depression, weapons, violence, harassment, tobacco, alcohol, marijuana, sexual behaviors, trauma, and also parent involvement, that overall, over a 10-year period, those numbers have decreased, the percentages have decreased. And I just wanted to summarize just a couple of them at this point. When you look at, for example, students who were engaged in a physical fight in the past year, in 2007, that number was 42%. In 2017, that number was 28%. So we've done some improvements. When you look at under the question about tobacco, in 2007 it was 43%, and the question that I've circled, have tried smoking cigarettes even 1 or 2 puffs, that was 43% in 2007. In 2017 it was 12%. When you look at some of the alcohol and marijuana usage, ever drank 1 or more drinks of alcohol in their lifetime. 2007, that percentage was 63%. 2017, it was 38%. Just in terms of marijuana use, have they used marijuana in their lifetime? 2007, it went from 43% to 2017 to 33%. Even in terms of sexual behaviors, you see a decrease in those. And I've highlighted, during your lifetime, with how many people. This is one that's interesting, but it's here. And this survey is done with students ages 13 to 18. This question: during your life, with how many people have you had sexual intercourse, and they've got 4 or more partners? So you're talking about students between the ages of 13 and 18 having 4 or more partners. Well, in 2007, that went from 21% to 15%. But still, we're talking about 15% of our students. And let me just also point out, I think it was about 4,200 students, 4,300 students that were surveyed. That was the maximum. So you still got that number. And then when you look at trauma questions, and one of the ones I've highlighted, saw someone get shot, stabbed, or beaten in the neighborhood. And it appears that they only just recently started to take the, have this as a survey item over the last 2 years. 31% of students, our students, have saw someone get shot, stabbed, or beaten in our neighborhood. And then what I'm most proud of, because we've had people to say our parents are not involved, but when you look at questions, and this is under assets, family gives help and support when needed, saying yes, and that they strongly agree or agree. While it went down, we've got 79% of our students in 2017 whose parents are provided them with help and support. Family has clear rules about what youth can or cannot do. Percentage of those students, in fact, this one went up from 80% in 2007 to 83% in 2017. So just an idea of what our youth are thinking and how we can inform this for our work. And that's something I'd like to, as I said, asking Chairperson Shepherd to consider as an agenda item. And so we've done some work. We just don't, based on these numbers over a 10-year period, there has been a lot of work that's done within our school, I believe, and also external to our school. And so that's something I think, Madam Superintendent, that we really need to look at how we can, with this survey, how we can help our students even more. And then just a couple other points with regard to the CRGR meeting. We will meet on February 1st. We will work on discussing a legislative breakfast that's going to be scheduled either for I think it's the 3rd or the 10th of March. We will bring to this body a recommendation for you to approve the legislative agenda. And then, let me just see. Lastly, I just want to do a shout out to my niece Nakaya, who took her exams and she completed all of the questions on the exam. So Nakaya Stokes, my girl, my ride or die partner, this is for you and congratulations. And so, Mr. President, that ends my report.
Excellent. I'll be very brief. I'm going to steal Commissioner Shepherd's phrase in my attempts to be brief. It's almost biblical in her reference, be encouraged. It is sometimes difficult to hear criticisms and challenges, but the heart has us do that when we want to make sure things are right. So anybody hearing the criticisms, I don't want you to be discouraged. We know where your heart is, and we know where you're at right now. And I want you to be encouraged. We want you to be encouraged. And as Commissioner Shepherd has tried to suggest to you, the criticism is not intended to deflate your effort or deflect you away from your charge. It is merely an attempt to make sure that we're all moving in the right direction. So just to be very direct, to Shirley, while I was quick to point out your error, what I believe to be your error, I know where your heart is. And we know how many years and hours, decades that you have spent committed to this community. And we hold that up. But we also have to hold up the truth, even though it may be a moment in time. And sure enough, as you were to turn the mirror towards me, there's been plenty of instances where I and probably other people up here have made mistakes, right? So nobody here has some stones that we're trying to throw. We want to build up this house. And so I'm not just speaking to Shirley, and I'm not just speaking for myself as president, I'm speaking on behalf of the entire Board of Education. Be encouraged. This is a tough job, and we know how tough it is. And we want you to know that you have our support. And one of the ways in which we show our support, it may be unusual, it may be unconventional, is to be constructively critical of ourselves and you. So again, my report just would conclude by saying, be encouraged. Hang in there, as my father used to say. All right. Now, let's move on to the consideration of resolutions. I need a motion to discuss resolution 506 to 518.
So moved.
And moved by Commissioner Hallmark, seconded by Commissioner Adams, I think, right? Any questions or comments regarding the EPO resolutions? There being no questions or comments, all those in favor of resolutions 506 to 518, say aye. Aye. Let's move on to discussion.
You didn't ask if there was a no.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any no's?
518.
Record that, Madam Clerk. Thank you. Let's move on to the discussion of resolution 5. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a tenure resolution, so we'll have to do that in executive session. Let's move on to discuss resolutions 520 to 540. Can I get a motion to discuss? I think I heard Commissioner Powell, Vice President Powell.
Second.
And seconded by Commissioner Hallmark. Any questions or comments regarding resolutions 520 through 540? I should note, I've just been handed a note that we also have to discuss resolution 527 in executive session. Is that right, Madam Clerk? Yes. Yes. So excluding resolution 527, let's do the motion again. Can I get a motion to discuss resolutions 520 through 540 with the exception of 527? Vice President
As modified.
Powell?
Mm-hmm.
Powell, and it's been moved, seconded by Commissioner Hallmark?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments regarding resolutions 520 through 540 with the exception of resolution 527, which we will discuss in executive session? There being no questions or comments, all those in favor of resolution 520 through 540 with the exception of 527, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
523.
Got that, Madam Clerk? Yes. Thank you. All right, so just so that I keep track of this, we're going into executive session on 519. We'll make the motion later on, and 527. All right, so let's discuss, can I get a motion to discuss resolution 541 to 547? Commissioner Adams, I need to do, all right, you got it?
I got a question.
Well, we got to get it
second.
on, okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Adams, seconded by?
Second.
Commissioner Hallmark. Questions, Commissioner Adams?
I'm not sure which resolution it is, I'm sorry, but I had submitted a question about what looks like a new title or new label for teachers on assignment doing after-school virtual academy work. And I had asked if that was a new title, a new position, how it was funded. There were some questions about that. Is anyone able to speak to that position? Is it new, and how is it funded, and how many are there, how many FTEs? And then I also will just say that I have a problem with teacher on assignment roles getting extra pay resolutions because these are teachers on assignment, so I think they should be able to be deployed flexibly and that we shouldn't be paying extra pay for teachers on assignment. So I don't support extra pay for those unless there's some really super good, super well-reasoned explanation.
Apologize, I came running up from the basement as soon as we heard that we were on, but I did submit a response earlier today. And I can go ahead and read that response.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Okay. The question was, what are the 4 Twilight Virtual Academy locations? The locations are Wilson, Edison, Franklin, the Vanguard School, and central office down in the new learning space. Excuse me. Specifically, is this a new title? The Virtual Academy TOAs are scheduled, explain the title of the CO Virtual Academy TOA. The Virtual Academy TOAs are scheduled into schools and classrooms for full-time teaching, for a full-time teaching load, supporting students that are taking OCR. So they're assigned during the regular school day. Virtual AP and virtual initial credit courses, or supporting students in online learning directly. This is not a new title. The Virtual Academy teachers have existed under this title for the past 2 years. So they're scheduled into 5 periods a day at school, so they don't have flexibility beyond the school day. They're not the ones that are assigned to instructional technology. They're assigned to the building. And again, I'm sorry, I'm still out of breath. I need to get in better shape.
You need to do push-ups with Mike Schmidt.
My wife gets on me for that. How many FTEs are there? There's 16 Virtual Academy FTEs. What is the revenue source? This is coming from the Empire State Grant. The question is, why are the extra pay resources needed instead of TOA salary covering hours using flexible hours? The answer to that is the Virtual Academy teachers are assigned a full teaching load with students during the regular school day and supporting online learning for students directly during normal school hours.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
I'm
welcome. Thank
very
you.
satisfied.
Any other questions or comments regarding resolutions 541 to 547? There being no further questions or comments, all those in favor of the additional pay resolution say aye.
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 Any opposition? The ayes have it. All right, let's move on to discuss the other resolutions, resolutions 548 to 562. However, before we do that, I'd like to make I'd like someone to make a motion to table resolution 555 before it goes to a vote. The reason behind my request is that, by way of background, this is the Equity and Educational Excellence Policy. It was a policy that has been in the works for many, many, many months. I was at a meeting along with, at the time, Vice President Elliott and I think
Commissioner
Shepard, and the subject of the policy had come up. And I had said to Fred Tanksley, who was at the meeting, that I would, as president, make sure that they had an opportunity to review the policy. We did what we were supposed to do, which is we forwarded a copy of the policy to Mr. Tanksley, but we've not confirmed that that group, I think they're called RISE, is that right, Mr. Wright? Well, whatever. We've not confirmed that they have looked at the policy. So I just want to make sure that they've had a chance to respond to it. I'm sure they'll be okay with the policy. They don't have veto power over the policy, but I do want to make sure that we do what we say we are going to do, and we did forward it to them. I just haven't confirmed that they've gotten it. So I'm asking for a motion to table. Yes, Vice President Powell.
I guess I better get my remarks in before I move because it's
Yes.
non-debatable.
Right.
I can support that as the outgoing policy chair, but for different reasons. I would love to have our incoming board members be able to vote on that policy and be on the record for being in support of an equity policy. So for that reason, I will offer a motion to table 555.
That makes sense. Any other comments before we put it to a vote? As Commissioner Vice President Powell has indicated, such a motion has to go straight to a vote. So we're kind of cheating a little bit, but
I would like to
yes, Commissioner Hallmark.
add something to that. There's been a lot of delays with that group and even postponement of meetings, so maybe we might put some kind of date or deadline about that, because I don't want to hold this up.
Well, I would imagine that by the next meeting we would have heard, because technically what happened is we sent an email to Mr. Tanksley. Then when I didn't get a response, I asked Dr. Lee if she could contact Fatima and Fatima is not available tonight for understandable reasons, so I'm not able to confirm whether you got it. So certainly by the next meeting,
So I would suggest give them until the next business meeting. Would be my suggestion.
I just want to say, as having served on the policy committee, there's times when policies take a long time, and it really is the discretion of the chair of policy and the committee to determine like the time frame. So, I mean, you could convey that, you know, that there's a desire to not see it held up, but ultimately I think the policy chair is really the steward for that. Like, there's been policies that I've held up before, for example, where it took months, but then other times it can fly through. So I think the policy, that's like one of the key roles of the policy chair that I've observed as a member of that committee is shepherding it that way.
But, Mr. President, from a technical standpoint, a motion to table, it does have to be. Our parliamentarian can advise us, we have to have a date certain when we will lift it from the table. So I would say that, ask that it be set aside until our February meeting.
Right. And I would just note for the record, the future chair of policy is sitting in the audience right now, Ms. Funchess. So this will come on your list of things to do. Whether you want to have it move forward at the next business meeting is, as Commissioner Adams says, is entirely up to you. I would ask that maybe you take this ball and you run with it and you talk to Mr. Tanksley, or who's the staff person that works with policy? Ask Deborah to contact Mr. Tanksley to confirm whether he's had a chance to review the policy. Okay. So you're right, Vice President Powell. The rules, Robert's rules, require that we give it a date certain. We'll put it off to the next business meeting. But again, Chairperson Funchess, if you want to put it off beyond that, that's entirely up to you. Okay. All right. So so now I got to get the motion.
We have the motion.
I have the motion. Has it been seconded?
I'm sorry, I got a little distracted. We're doing 548 to 5.
No. We're trying to table 555. I'm sorry. We're trying to table 555. I think Commissioner Adams seconded that. Yes. Okay, it's got to go straight to a vote. All those in favor of tabling Resolution 555, say aye. Aye. Any opposition?
No opposition.
All right.
But, Mr. President?
Yes.
The others have quite a mishmash of things. I would, rather than take them as a bundle, if we could get resolutions 548 through 555 out of the way with, I would like to move those so that we can then give our total attention to the board appointments.
Well, the board appointments are 553 to 5.
I know. I just want to break up the other into another bite-sized chunk.
So you want to go 548 to 5 what?
552.
552.
All of the policies leading up to that.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I can just do that. Can I get a motion to discuss Resolution 548 to 552?
So moved.
Been moved by Commissioner Hallmark, seconded by Commissioner Adams. All right. Any questions or comments? I'd like to begin the conversation, if I could. First, with respect to 551, I'll be very brief. I want to thank Kalia and Dr. Lee for all the work that they've been doing on suspension appeals. It's a lot of work, and I want to thank board members who are responsive to the repeated emails, some with the red lettering on it, warning us that we're running out of time. It's a lot of work, and I want to recognize their extensive work. With respect to 553 and 554, we've already talked at great length about our board members to be, Ms. LeBron and Ms. Funchess. By the way, we're having their swearing in tomorrow at 6 o'clock. I would encourage all of you who are available to attend. And you said we're going up to 555, is that right?
No, 552.
552. Well, that's it for me. Anybody else have any comments about those resolutions, 548 to 552? All right. All those in favor of resolution 548 to 552, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
No on 548.
548, no for 548. Madam Clerk, you got that?
And no for 548 for me. And what did we go up to? What was those resolutions?
552.
550, no.
All right. It appears that all of those resolutions would pass as they have the requisite a majority of the board. So let's move on to discussion of resolutions. Oh, I'm sorry. We went up to 552, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I got ahead of the game a little bit.
Mary, would you like to move 553 and 4?
Sure. 553 and 554.
All right. Commissioner Adams has moved resolutions 553 to 554. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded by Commissioner Hallmark. Any questions or comments beyond what I've already said about my view of these two candidates? I'm sure others are equally impressed with.
This is you guys. This is you. We're voting on you guys right now.
Melanie's looking up like, what? What?
I step out for a minute, and what do I miss?
Oh, yeah, you're almost gone. If no one's choosing to say anything, it's not because they don't have wonderful things to say about you. Obviously, we have voted for you, and we're very honored. Anybody else want to add something? Yeah, I mean, I think it's been said many times before, and more will be said tomorrow, I'm sure. So we're just doing 553 to 554, that's right? Mm-hmm. There being no further questions or comments, all those in favor of resolutions 553 and 554, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I assume there's no opposition.
553.
553, okay. Madam Clerk, you record that? Yes. All right. Those two resolutions have passed. Let's give our new board members, or to-be board members. The resolution is, for those of you who don't know, calls for their appointment. What is it, midnight tonight? What does it say on there? Tomorrow. So it's not official just yet, but close, close. All right. That would take us to resolution 554. Are you good with going all the way to 562 now, right? You want to separate them some more?
556, Mr. President.
550. Oh, that's right, because we tabled 555. So 556 to 562. I suggest.
Yes, although I have, I'm sorry, yes.
All right, so what we're considering right now, I need a motion to discuss resolution 556 through 562.
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Hallmark, seconded by Commissioner Adams.
Second.
All right. Any questions or comments regarding 556 through 562?
Comments for 557
Yes.
through
We'll start here.
560?
Yep.
I just said I want to read out loud our appreciation for gifts, as these four are gifts to the district. 557 is a gift to the district from FoodLink to East Community's Food and Resource Pantry for $2,000, and I think you all spoke about that tonight. 558 is $10,000 to the district from the Hartford Junior Fire Marshal Program for fire safety K-3 throughout the district. 559 is $5,000 to be used for general purposes for education at school number 33. And 560 is $30,000 from the Greater Rochester Health Foundation to improve the health of elementary school age children across many schools in the district. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Hallmark, for doing that. We've fallen out of the practice of doing that for a while. I know Commissioner Vice President Powell used to do that for a number of years, so we appreciate you picking that up. We'll just go down the line here. I just want to thank Commissioner Natalie Shepard and Mary Adams for making sure that we had a resolution that addressed the Black Lives Matter campaign or movement that may be taking place at some of our schools. I know I think it was last year, it was there was some confusion, and I don't know if there was clarity. And so, once again, I think the board is making very clear that our students, our families, our staff members are free to, if they choose, to recognize this very important movement. So that's what I wanted to recognize Commissioner Shepard and Commissioner Adams for doing that. With respect to the Special Advisory Committee on Special Education, I've taken the time to speak to a number of you about it, particularly those that called me and had additional inquiries about that. And I want to thank, in advance of her being actually sworn in as a commissioner, Ms. Funchess for being willing to chair that committee. I think, as I've explained to a number of you, I think her her experience as a community advocate, but most significantly, her experience as a parent of a special needs child, I think will aid us in bringing some additional clarity and support. Two, thank you. Two special needs children. Brings that group's work will bring some additional support to our administration's efforts that are ongoing to address the problem of special education or challenges in special education. So I hope you all will endorse this concept and believe that, like other similar efforts where we have empowered and engaged the community, like in the example of the Code of Conduct, and there are other examples where we've looked to the community to provide us the support and experience. I firmly believe this could be what this district needs, in addition to what the administration is doing, to turn the tide on special education. So I thank you in advance for your support for this particular resolution.
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make an amendment to Resolution 562, where it says, resolve that the board endorses and encourages teachers to participate in the Day of Understanding. I'd like that to read, encourages all employees to participate in the Day of Understanding, so forth and so on. So I'd like to make that motion.
Commissioner Shepard, I would consider that hopefully to be a friendly amendment. What do you think about that?
Yep, I would second that.
Okay, so instead of breaking it down, staff member, you just say all staff members, or just include all staff members?
Commissioner Elliott, what do you think?
Yeah, that all staff members, because what's important is that even our janitors and security guards have an impact on our children's lives. And so they're no less important when you're talking about school community. And so while I had said, I think I had initially said staff and administrators, I'd really like that to include all staff because every staff member is valued in this district and in some way will lend to this whole racial issue that we have within our school community. So I'd offer that for all staff, for all employees.
Again, I don't appear to be dense, but I just want to make sure I understand what you're suggesting. You're saying that
when you go to the resolved piece,
yep,
that the board endorses and encourages, it says teachers.
Oh, I see.
All right, so I want that to be deleted and put all staff or all employees.
Yep. Thank you for that clarification. Commissioner Shepard, are you okay with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. So any further questions or comments on that friendly amendment? There being no further questions or comments, that amendment, all those in favor of that amendment say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. So the Resolution 562 has been so amended. Yes.
Are we still in the section of
We're still,
556 or no?
we're still in from 556 to 562.
I had a question about 556, the Monroe Transportation. Could there be some clarity on that? I wasn't exactly sure what I was reading. So 556, I think, Mr. Schmidt, can you respond to that for me?
Oh, yeah, this was simply changing the legal name on the contract. This went through Finance Committee?
Yes, it did. It went through Finance Committee. It's a change of ownership at Monroe Transportation.
Okay.
The service will remain the same, and there won't be any change in how the contract is structured.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Commissioner Adams, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Mike, is it true that you do push-ups? Somebody said you do push-ups.
Uh-oh.
All right. Any further questions regarding Resolution 556 to 562? All right. There being no further questions or comments regarding those resolutions, all those in favor of Resolutions 556 to 562, with 562 having the amendment provided a few moments ago, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right. The ayes have it. I just want to note with respect to the Special Advisory Committee, Ms. Funches has asked a question, a very good question by email. I think all of you saw it. what was the process. I did my best to answer it. So I think that provides some clarity for those of you who weren't in on that email, which is everybody else out there. The board members pursuant to the bylaws will provide recommended people for this advisory committee. The board, each individual board member can offer their suggestions. The board then, I gather those suggestions, I present them as my recommendations. The board, by its role as advising consent, tells me thumbs up or thumbs down. They usually say thumbs up because they've given me the names. You guys will have given me the names. I then put those people on the committee, and in advance of doing that, I've already asked, as you all heard, that Commissioner Funches to be chair that committee. So again, we're really looking forward to that, and again, we feel very, very blessed that you're going to be in a position to aid us in this very difficult endeavor. All right, so then we have unfinished business. There is none. New business. Commissioner Powell, you got, Vice President Powell, you got that?
Yes. Now, this is the discussion phase, which means we'll be voting on these next month. The first is the what used to be referred to as the Homeless Children and Families Policy. Now it's the Children and Families in Transition under McKinney-Vento Act. The changes are driven by the law. If you have any questions about the technical changes in it, I would defer to our Chief Legal Counsel to answer those questions. But this is the time in our process for asking questions aloud. If you have questions, or if you think you'll have questions later, I would direct you to Carl Christoph rather than myself, because I am not a subject matter expert.
So are we able to ask questions tonight? Or so in reference to the daycare policy, we're actually...
No, I'm just talking about the homeless people at this particular moment.
Okay.
If there are no questions, I'm ready to move on. No questions?
No questions.
No questions. Okay. You have a red line copy and a clean copy in pink, and I see Melanie's following along. Okay. The daycare policy. This has been a topic that I have been discussing with the policy committee off and on for years. And my fond hope would be that we would find some in-between space where we could offer child care in the Young Mothers Program at the very least. But there really didn't appear to be any stomach for it among my colleagues. If that changes with the incoming new members, you have a chance to vote this policy down, this recommendation down. But rather than be in a perpetual state of purgatory on this, we're advancing this resolution to rescind the existing daycare policy with no replacement. It has not been implemented in this district for over a decade, and a recent survey indicated that parenting students require greater flexibility in their choice of child care providers to accommodate their needs. For this reason, the members of the policy committee decided that students' needs could be best met by advocating for them and to be given priority in awarding county child care subsidies and pursuing collaborative partnerships in our community organizations to offer that child care as part of before and or after school programs. So the proposal is to take this policy off the books. So what is your question, Commissioner Elliott?
You just explained it. Thank you.
I explained it. Thank you.
And let me just say also that I do appreciate the work that Commissioner Powell, Vice President Powell has done as chair of the policy committee. These policies, as you read them, come across clear, and also with the work that Deborah Flanagan does in supporting the committee. So I want to just take a moment to give Vice President Powell a shout out and welcome the chairmanship of Commissioner-elect Funches.
Thank you. And in response to that, I'd just say It's easy to have the best policies put on paper. It's a lot harder to make sure that they get implemented as intended.
Bless you. Amen.
Thank you.
So we don't, we're not voting on that today, obviously.
No, we're
All
not. Next month.
Next month. Okay. In the spirit of giving a shout out, because I didn't want it to be missed, I realized that there was a lot of work put into Path Forward. Bo, Linus, you've done a lot of, and people that I obviously am not familiar with the work that's gone into this. I want to recognize that on behalf of the board. Now, we sometimes, making our way down that path, can be a little bit reluctant because we don't know where exactly it's leading. And a little bit of that, I think, happened tonight, but that does not, I don't want you to think we don't recognize the effort that has been put into it, and we do. And that's where I would put the comment, be encouraged. We do appreciate the work that you all put into this. It's just that, you know, sometimes people are a little bit leery about where exactly we're going and are we really going there, right? So, but don't take that as a reflection of us not recognizing the hard work, the diligence that went into putting this. So I, on behalf of the board, I hope that you will share that with your staff, the names that I don't know that put this good work in, and we look forward to the conversation this weekend, Saturday, okay? Yes, sir.
Just respond quickly, and I'll be
Yes,
brief
sure.
because I know that we're short on time. I want to speak to what came up earlier about 44, and I want to say something about Shirley because she tried to do the right thing. It was difficult because we didn't want any schools to be put in a position where they could be mentioned tonight or an information that comes out over the course of the next couple of days. And so I think she was just going to give a heads up like, hey, you know, we haven't made any final decisions, but something could happen, and the message was misconstrued. But I appreciate your comments about Shirley's integrity and what came up. I just don't want it being placed on her because the intent for all of us was just not to put any school community in a position where they could be referenced in any document that came out or any conversation tonight, but then to also be ambiguous enough where we weren't saying something was definitely going to happen or what was going to happen because we couldn't, because you guys haven't made a decision on anything yet. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So we appreciate that.
It's sort of a weird position where you're kind of like, something could happen, but we're not sure yet. And so, like I said, I just wanted to say that because I felt bad that, you know, that happened. I also feel bad because this is a celebration of your work and of the Path Forward, and so we recognize that the work isn't perfect, and we'll keep at it. But I didn't want people to think that there was an intention there to do anything underhanded.
They know that they're the whole, in many ways, the driving force behind the Path Forward. They know, the School 44 community knows that they are a huge question mark. They already know that. That's what drove, in some ways, I mean, much more ended up driving Path Forward, but that was the original impetus for examining facility. It was, like I described, it was a meeting at School 40. That community knows that there are unknowns. So to go and convey that they are closing today was a problem.
Hard to get folks who have and I'm not talking about Commissioner Adams, who have a history of the district long before you got here, long before Shirley gave the central office, to convince them that even in a mistake, there wasn't an attempt to do something underhanded. Because there have been problems from this district in the past. So I think part of the challenge is, again, I can know, again, Shirley, sorry to focus on you, but I know you, right? Right? But not everybody does, right? And I'm saying, I think you made a mistake. And let me tell you, Shirley, you know me, I've made plenty of mistakes, right? We all do. And can nobody in this room say they've never made a mistake. But the problem is when we miscommunicate something and there's history there, and the people know the history, it doesn't make any difference what's in your heart or in my heart, right? So you get it, Dr. Green, right? This is not personal. This is the legacy of the challenges we've had in this district. So what I think it is best, we really take this analogy of Path Forward and we say, okay, that was in the rearview mirror. What happened at 44 School And all the things that have happened bad in this district, it's in the rearview mirror. This path has got to be a path where we are very conscientious of what we say and extremely conscientious of what we do, right? And then people will begin to want to walk that path. But until then, we are all on shaky ground, all of us, right? Not only Shirley, but me, and Mary's gone, but the new board members, right? We're all on shaky ground. You've taken this job, you're on shaky ground. It doesn't make any difference what your integrity is like, right? Your past. So I just want everybody in here, again, stealing this from you, but be encouraged. If you look forward, be encouraged, okay? So let's, if we can, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I just want to take a
absolutely.
point of personal privilege is the term. Okay. So I wanted to make sure that I had shouted out school number 15. They had their annual peace concert this week, and I know Dr. Green can attest to it. Carlos Garcia, Superintendent, Commissioner Hallmark can also attest to the fact that this is a pre-K through 6 school, and we had all of these little babies in one area, and not one time did any adult have to stop the show and tell anybody to be quiet, anybody to sit down. I mean, they were just so perfect little babies. And so I wanted to appreciate Principal Piper and Assistant Principal Walker for the school climate that they have created with young kids. They were really acting like young scholars. No one had to go in and pinch them. And they were quiet and they were loving the show. They sang their hearts out. They played those instruments pretty well. And so I just wanted to shout out school number 15.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you can give them a round of applause. Thank you for allowing us to end on a very positive note. That's always good to do. But I'd like to one-up you and play one last song for Commissioner Adams. It is Tina Turner, still Tina.
I gotta tell you, the one that your son sings to me.
What does he sing to you?
Mary, Mary, why you bugging?
I didn't ask him for his advice. Maybe I should have. But I do have one other song, and it is from Tina Turner. And you all have heard the song. The song is Simply the Best. But I would continue the quote by saying, Mary, you are better than all the rest. Can they play that song?